Baby, it's hot outside. Hotter than July. Got to stay hydrated on a day like today. Perfect day for a barbecue, a tailgate. Mets will hand the ball to Mike Pelfrey today as the young Mets try and keep it going. At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball today. The Mets play the Philadelphia Phillies. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez join me in just a moment as the Mets play the rubber game of a three-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets are a game over 500, 7.5 out of the wild card, 2 weeks before the trading deadline, and trying to stay relevant. Big game today. In this series so far, it's been the placeholders who have been front and center. On Friday night, John Mayberry Jr. playing center field for the injured Shane Victorino. Drove in a couple of runs early against R.A. Dickey, and then 3 more runs late against the Mets bullpen en route to a Philadelphia 7-2 victory. A career-high 5 RBIs for Mayberry. Then yesterday, with Carlos Beltran down with the flu, John Neese was on the mound. He took care of business there, picking up his 9th victory of the season. And at the plate, it was Scott Hairston subbing for Beltran, who had the big day. An early double, another 2-base hit, and then later in the game to put on the icing, a bomb of a 3-run homer, a 5 RBI day for Scott Hairston, and the Mets went on to an 11-2 victory, even in the series at a game apiece. Beltran is still out of the lineup today because he has the flu. He's back in the ballpark feeling a little better, but today Willie Harris will get his spot.
Well, he's running a hot hand here. He's got Willie Harris in the 3rd spot, hopefully to duplicate what Hairston did. What was impressive about Scott's performance yesterday was that Scott's a high ball hitter. You notice in the replays there of all 3 of those hits, they were all balls down in the strike zone, tough pitches. So as a starter this year, Scott Harrison, in 15 games he started in the outfield, he's hitting .321 with 3 home runs and 15 RBI.
On the mound today for the Mets is Mike Pelfrey, and Pelfrey has pitched well his last 2 starts. He has not pitched much at home lately, and this has been where he's thrived.
Yeah, he has always thrived here at Citi Field. 6 of his last 7 starts have been away from here. Only 5 wins in the first half. He's going to really have to get it going if he wants to repeat this 15-win season of last year. And going up against Kyle Kendrick. Kyle Kendrick, a guy who really was doing a fantastic job for the Phillies out of the bullpen, moved into the starting rotation. 4-4 so far this year. The sinker baller, if it's going right, will throw a lot of ground balls.
So it's Pelfrey against Kendrick on a hot Sunday afternoon in New York. Come on back. All the action coming your way. Mets and Phillies right here on Pix 11. ChevyOffers.com. By Dunkin' Donuts. To get dunked, go to GetDunked.com. By Mazda. Zoom Zoom. By Citi. What's your story? Citibank can help you write it. By Hyundai. People are talking about Hyundai uncensored. See what they're saying at Hyundai.com. And by MJHS, a pioneering integrated health system since 1907, caring every minute, every day. Mets 3-game ticket packs are on sale now at Mets.com. Save 10% on box office ticket prices and sit in the same seat for each game. Choose the pack that fits your schedule. Get to Mets.com for your tickets now. Who's Hot is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. Jacoby Ellsbury homered yesterday to help the Red Sox to a 9-5 win over Tampa Bay. CC Sabathia just keeps on rolling. All-star, not 14-4 now on the season. And Chris Carpenter has started to roll after a very tough start to his season, as the Cardinals back in first place after beating the Reds 4-1 yesterday. The Mets getting ready for the rubber game of 3 with the Phillies. Mike Pelfrey is set to take the mound and throw the first pitch. We'll have it for you in just a moment. Brought to you by Toyota. With fuel efficiency you'll love, only better. Michael Martinez gets to start at third base today for the second time in the series. Utley and Howard in those 3 and 4 holes. The Mets have held them in check in this series. Utley and Howard just 1 for 14 combined in the first 2 games. And the former Met Brian Schneider gets his first start of the series behind the plate for the Phils.
Well, Mike Pelfrey getting the start today. 5 wins and 8 losses in the first half, 48 and 49 for his career. It's going to be interesting as he approaches these Philadelphia Phillies here at home. Pitches much better at home than he does on the road. And it's going to be nice to see Mike. He started to incorporate his curveball, his cutter, his slider, if he's going to use all those pitches like Jonathan Neese did in yesterday's ball game. I don't know if you saw you were here, Gary. Neese was about as good as we've seen him since he took the mound for the Mets.
You know, Neese has become a more sophisticated pitcher, it seems. Last year he incorporated the cutter. He always had the curveball, but he's got more weapons in his arsenal now.
Weapons, and also there is a, how would you say, kind of a strength out there. There's a mental toughness that you haven't seen before, almost a meanness when he takes the mound, and I like that.
I like to say he's just got plain simple guts. He doesn't knuckle under pressure. He gets better when more tough when men are on base, and those are things I look for in a pitcher.
Now this game is starting a couple of minutes late. I'm not quite sure. The umpires made a late appearance. Now if you're a starting pitcher, you've come in from the bullpen, you're ready to go,
and now Pelfrey is kind of sitting around.
I am hot right now. I mean, the umpires have nothing to do except pull a pair of pants on and a shirt. Let's go. I would be hot. I would be, Gary. I want to come around.
Are you? What's going on?
We've got a receiving line.
It's like getting married at home plate. Where are the bats?
Ronnie, you would have had a fit.
The world
if
has
that had happened.
The world has passed me by. I really need to.
Can you only imagine people touching you on the way out to the mound?
I really need to go see someone. I need to lie down and see someone.
Young man, whose idea was that?
Well, it's great for the folks who got to do it, but from not so much the position player standpoint, but from the starting pitcher standpoint, I can only imagine. So Pelfrey will be starting at home for only the second time in a span of 8 starts, which is very strange. It's been happenstance. The Mets have been on the road a lot the last month or so.
And we'll take a look at the defense, the Metropolitan defense, brought to you by Geico. Folks, did you know that 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car insurance? Think about that one. As you can see right there, 24 errors in the last 25 games. You don't want to see that. Tejada, particularly right now, shortstop having some difficulty, particularly going to his right. Made 2 errors yesterday.
Ryan Gorman umpiring at third base today. Yesterday, he took a shot off his left hand right there. Oh, gosh, that hurts.
Isn't it interesting how he kind of crosses his hands in front of him? He was fully exposed there for that ball that eluded, and you see Brian's hand swollen still today.
And he's got a little walnut there, doesn't he?
You know what, though? Gamer stayed in there. Love it.
He had to leave the field a couple of times. He got some ice. He got a brace. He went in. They thought he was going to have to leave the game, but he stayed in, and he made it through 9 innings behind the plate.
You can see the swell right there.
Let me ask you something. For the Geico thing, were you auditioning? What was that? Exactly.
I gotta have fun with those things, right?
That's right. He's going to be the new voice of the Gecko.
That's right.
Yeah. Jimmy Rollins getting set to lead things off for the Phillies, who are 58-35. The best record in the major leagues, despite an offense that is puttered along right in the middle of the pack in the National League.
Al, what are you doing over here? Did you stay out of the booth? Leave my wires alone. I have them perfectly positioned.
Cameraman right? Giving you problems.
Al, on camera too. He's all over the place.
Well, the Phillies are set to go. Mets are set to go.
And there's Greg Gross right there, the hitting coach for the Fighting Phils.
Great pinch hitter in his day.
I played at AAA against Greg Gross. He was an inside-out hitter, opposite field hitter. Thought he'd never get to the big leagues. He wound up having a very fine career as a bench player.
So here's Rollins hitting at 266, ready to get things started. And Pelfrey opens the afternoon with a fastball for a strike.
I'm sorry, Garrett. It's a big left-handed hitting lineup against Pelfrey here. Pelf is almost predictable early in the game.
It'll pop up into shallow left, and in comes Jason Bay to handle it. And Rollins retired for the first out of the game.
You can pretty much we see Pelf on every start, so he likes to first time through the order all the left-handers and pound them in early.
But remember, the first start he made against the Phillies this year was the second start of the season. He threw 2 curveballs in his first 3 pitches to Shane Victorino, and then he had a terrible day. Lasted just 2 innings, allowed 7 runs and 8 hits. Here's Michael Martinez, the number 2 hitter, playing third base today, and he takes the fastball on the inside edge.
All 3 starts that Pelf has had against the Phillies is 0-1, but with all 3 starts the Mets have lost their games.
First 2 he got beat up. Both of those were in Philly, but the last time he pitched wonderfully, a 7 2/3 2-run 4-hit stint here in late May.
And remember, including his last start, that trip they made where they hit the cover off the baseball in Texas and Detroit, the only 2 games they struggled in on that trip were both Pelfrey starts.
Chase Utley on deck, and Martinez bounces one. Easy play for Justin Turner, and quickly there are 2 out. So 2 up and 2 set aside for Pelfrey, and now Chase Utley will step in. Utley 1 for 7 in this series.
Interesting, Utley, if you're standing on the on-deck circle, you've seen Pelfrey throw fastball down the middle to Rollins, fastball down the middle to Martinez. Be interesting to see if he tries to jump on the first pitch.
Definitely should be paying attention. 313 lifetime against Pelf with 4 home runs. Utley.
Oh, and he throws one behind him.
Jeez.
How about that?
Well, now as a hitter, your first reaction is to move back, and then you move into the pitch. They say if you want to hit someone, Ronnie, you want to throw it, what, around 6 inches behind them?
Now, Pelfrey, after throwing that pitch, looked behind him. Was he looking for the person who pushed him?
No, I think he was looking behind him. That was the sign that, hitter, I'm not trying to throw at you. I caught a spike.
Yes.
That's what that look is.
And Utley takes a strike. Yesterday, Neese retired the first 2 hitters and then walked Utley on 4 pitches. Later in the game, Bobby Parnell, first batter he faced, Utley walked him on 4 pitches. So that's a very conscious of not letting Utley hurt them.
Ooh, got a low strike there.
That was a good split finger there by Pelf. Watch this ball.
Too much in the middle, though. If you stay back, that's a good pitch to hit. That was a strike. It was around borderline knee.
Ronnie Polino catching Pelfrey again today. That one is low with another split. It's 3-2. Polino now the official personal catcher for Pelfrey. Designated such after he had caught him 9 straight games. Pelfrey had a rough go with Tolle, and now the 2 games since with Polino back behind the plate, Pelfrey has pitched well. 3-2, and it's fouled at the plate. Utley got a late start to his season, coming back from a knee injury, and he's still not quite himself. 4 homers, 18 RBIs, and 164 at bats. That's not Utley like. 26 career home runs against the Mets. And it's too high, and he's bored with a 2-out walk. Now the difference between having Polino and having Tolle has been stark, and that's why Terry finally gave in to the idea that Polino would be back there over time.
Do you buy into that, Ronnie?
I think you buy into the fact that if you have a couple of good games early with a catcher and you have that rapport, that can carry out through an entire season. Absolutely.
And I think it depends on the pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, Pelfrey is a guy who sometimes has self-doubt.
And he would like the catcher to take charge more, and I think that's the key.
Big shift you see right there on the right side of the infield.
And Ryan Howard takes ball 1.
And the other thing, guys, is that Polino is a very too cool for school, very casual, very calm, serene kind of player. And I think when you get Mike in those agitated moments, that's a good thing. You don't want a catcher that's going to come out yelling and screaming.
There goes Utley. Howard takes outside, and Polino doesn't even come out of his crouch. Now third base is unguarded for a moment. So 3 Mets all break toward the bag at the same time to make sure Utley doesn't keep moving.
Well, just a big jump here, and it was a split finger. And Pelf now got to worry about this guy, who big jump. 378 lifetime against Pelf and 37 at bats, and he's got 3 home runs. So these guys have had success. 3-4 off of Pelf.
Howard 0 for 7 in this series, and he pulls one, and Turner can't get to it. It's a base hit. Utley heads home, and the Phillies take an early 1-0 lead. Well, even though Justin Turner was a good 30 feet into the outfield, he couldn't close ground to stop that ball, and Howard drives home the game's first run.
Well, off the end of the bat, splitter, just got it outside corner a little bit up, and just well placed. Another RBI for that RBI machine, Ryan Howard.
I have no criticism for that ground ball. It just eludes Turner. The criticism can come from the walk to Utley and allowing him to just take second base and not keeping him close.
So here's Ibanez with the runner at first, and he grounds one right back to Pelfrey. And the side retired, but the Phillies break in front with an early run. A 2-out walk leads to a Howard RBI hit. 1-0 Phillies. by Toyota with fuel efficiency you'll love, only better. Already without Wright and without Davis and without Reyes. No Beltran these last 2 days, but Daniel Murphy has been picking up the slack, hitting .402 over the last 20 games. Willie Harris slides into the third hole, and with the second time in his career he's batted third.
Well, Kyle Kendrick has moved back and forth in the rotation and the bullpen this entire time as a Phil. A couple seasons ago had 10 wins for them.
Angel Pagan will lead things off. It's been a rough go for Pagan, who snapped an 0 for 17 stretch yesterday, hitting just 176 over his last 13 games. And he takes low from Kendrick, 1-0, and Kendrick's game is keeping that ball down and getting ground balls.
He's a sinker ball pitcher.
Kendrick now 26 years old. And he gets the ground ball from Pagan. Easy play for Howard for the first out.
And we'll take a look at the Fightin' Phils defense brought to you by Geico. Again, 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on your car insurance. There you go right there. You see 45 errors, fewest in the National League. So the Phillies can beat you in a lot of ways with their pitching staff, their starters in particular, their offense, and also with their gloves.
Although their defense yesterday was just ugly early in the game. Howard and Utley letting a pop-up drop in as Justin Turner takes inside. Wilson Valdez playing third base, getting eaten up on Hairston's double. Ibanez having trouble picking the ball up in left field.
Francisco had trouble on the Evans triple.
On the corner to Turner. Turner had 2 hits yesterday, and both of them were ground balls through the right side, and I just don't understand why teams are not closing down that hole against him.
I agree 100%.
How many of his hits have gone in just the same spot?
Well, you can look at Utley right now, right here, and he could certainly get over in this position here and get a little more over his shortstop, move him over.
2-1 to Turner with Willie Harris on deck. Turner gained not only got 2 hits yesterday, he gained another hit as well. Remember Friday night he hit that bloop to right that fell in front of Francisco, and Dickey got messed up on the base paths, and they initially charged an error to Francisco, but they correctly changed that.
Ronnie scored it a hit, if I remember.
I kept it a hit.
He did. Actually, it was Dominic Brown, not Francisco, as Turner shoots that one foul. Anyway, they changed it rightfully back to a hit, so Ronnie didn't need white out or anything. He had it right all along.
Ronnie, how would you describe Kendrick's windup? He's got a little hesitation. It kind of hangs in the air.
Yeah, he's got a lot of moving parts. That hand over his head kind of has a delay at the very beginning, holds it, and then lets it go. That's how he gets that sink on the baseball.
Rollins backs up to field it and throws out Turner 2 away.
Howard went down on his knees to catch that ball.
Not sure if that ball knuckled on him.
I think Howard, he just always wants to make sure. It's he's not as smooth can be, but Rollins is.
Watch this stretch. Not the most graceful stretch.
After the play was over, Howard motioned out to Rollins as if to say that the ball was sinking or there was something funky about it. As Willie Harris takes ball 1. Harris in the 3-hole today with Beltran still down with the flu. Carlos is here. Whether he's available to pinch hit or not, we don't know. But for Harris, who's starting for the first time in the month of July, it's only the second time in his career he's batted third. First time was last year with the Nationals. And the reason he gets that spot today, much like the case with Hairston yesterday, Hairston had good numbers against Cole Hamels, while Harris has good numbers against Kendrick. 5 for 16 with a couple of home runs.
Well, right now, the first time through the order here, first inning, the left-hand hitters are kind of playing into Kendrick's hand. There you go.
Harris has himself a base hit.
Excuse me, folks. Willie Harris made one swing adjustment and a quick adjustment there. And this is balls up, out of the strike zone. When a ball gets up with a sinker baller, you see it right there. You lose your sink, and it just tends to run away on the same plane. It's a very good pitch to hit.
I wonder how good Terry Collins is at roulette, because every choice he makes seems to come up pretty good. Wow.
There's usually a reason behind it. He's not just throwing stuff against the wall. There's Daniel Murphy 5 for 9 in this series, and a long home run to right center yesterday, his 6th of the year. And he takes a fastball for a strike.
He turned on a fastball that Hamels didn't get in enough yesterday, and Murph, we all know, can swing the bat. He's got 6 home runs, I believe, on the year. It was his 6th.
The last 2 have come against Justin Verlander and Cole Hamels. It's pretty good. 1-1.
Both on very similar pitches, up and in.
Hamels' lack of success against the Mets is approaching startling.
Well,
now.
it's like Steve Carlton couldn't beat the Mets. That to me was more surprising than anything.
Hamels now 3-10 lifetime, and that's with the 1 win he has this year.
It reminds me of Dwight Gooden one year came out and called the Pittsburgh Pirates a little league team, could never beat them again. And remember a few seasons ago, maybe it's the baseball gods of karma, Hamels called them chokers, the Mets.
Murphy lofts one out to right center. That's going to fall for a base hit. Harris on his way to third as Mayberry cuts it off. And Harris will be held at third base. That's some runners at the corners, and Murph has himself another hit. Now 6 for 10 in this series.
Well, you can see right now with the injured Shane Victorino that the Phillies really miss his defense in center field. This had a lot of hang time, this ball. And you got to wonder with the speed of Victorino, and I know that Mayberry can run, and Dominic Brown, but Victorino can play center field, Gold Glover, and they're missing his defense.
Well, so here's Jason Bay looking to get the run in.
I was going to say, sorry guys, since May 21st, most hits in baseball, 2 guys are tied. Adrian Gonzalez for the Boston Red Sox and Daniel Murphy of the New York Mets.
Murph's just been a hitting machine. Not your classic cleanup hitter by any means. So a chance for Bay, who had a couple of hits yesterday, snapping an 0 for 18 stretch, and he takes a strike. Bay hitting just 188 with runners in scoring position this year. Mets were 6 for 10 with runners in scoring position yesterday. Looking to equalize the Phillies' first inning run. And Kendrick misses inside.
In the last 5 games, the Mets had been hitting under 200 with runners in scoring position, so they kind of busted out yesterday. And again, this team is resilient. You know, a tough loss coming out of the All-Star break, and they come right back and hammer Hamels.
Well, yesterday's game was reminiscent of that late strike call there by Dan Molino, the rookie home plate umpire. Yesterday was reminiscent of those games in Detroit, Texas. The Mets were just able to string together hits, get runs after 2 out and nobody on.
The Mets got crushed in that first game on Friday night and said, uh-oh, it's going to be some kind of trip. Well, it was for the Mets.
Same thing Friday night here. And Rollins moves in front of it, gets the force play, and the Mets are turned aside at the bottom of the first. After 1 at Citi Field, 1-0 Phillies. about Lincoln. It's not just luxury, it's smarter than that. Oh. After the inning was over, Mike Pelfrey and Dan Bellino getting together for a little conversation.
I wonder what that's all about. You never know.
So Pelfrey takes them out for the second inning to take on Dominic Brown. 0 for 3 in this series. And he swings and misses at the first pitch fastball, 0-1. Brown hitting at .247. His season got off to a late start because of a broken bone in his hand during spring training.
He's got a world of talent. This is how good is he going to hit? He's got a little bit of a long swing, but he can fly. Plays a good defender. And he's playing in a great park to play 81 home games in.
Well, he's still trying to find his footing, but the guy he replaced is having a more difficult time. Jason Worth is now hitting .216.
And they've moved him everywhere, haven't they? He's hit leadoff, second hole, cleanup.
Slowly hit. Duda ranging wide. Pelfrey has to get over and just beats Brown to the bag. One away.
Well, nicely done there. That's why you work on that in spring training. And Pelf covering the bag. And watch Duda come to the pitcher with the shovel pass. The underhand pass. Beautiful.
We saw on Friday night just how fast Brown can be.
Pelf's very much aware of it.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now John Mayberry Jr. 2 for 8 in this series of the big night Friday night with 5 RBIs. Took an 0 for yesterday, filling in center field while Shane Victorino is out. Victorino is eligible to come off the disabled list Tuesday after spraining his thumb on an awkward fielding play.
Philadelphia goes to Chicago.
That was probably an AstroTurf injury, Gary, with the diving catch that he made in Toronto before the All-Star break, which is, I believe, the last park that has turf.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay's also right. If you want to call that turf. Yeah. It's some ugly turf, isn't it?
That's the stuff your parents put on your deck when you were a kid. I mean, gee.
The indoor outdoor carpeting.
Yes.
Pulled down to third. Murph behind the bag has time to set, and the throw is perfect. Nicely done by Murphy, taking his time and getting Mayberry 2 out.
Well, nicely done, Daniel. Nice backhand. Plants and throws, and Mayberry can run. So you see, good sense of how much time he needed. Easily throws him out.
You've seen Murph on similar plays rush it, and I think he's developing over there a sense of better timing.
It really was. That's the quarterback throw right there. The one that you go back and you just want to stand up tall and throw a strike.
Brian Schneider, the former Met, getting the start behind the plate today with Carlos Ruiz getting the day off. Schneider's had just 62 at bats this year. This is his 19th start. And Brian hitting just 161. Got an at bat in yesterday's game. And Pelfrey misses to his former battery mate, 2-1. Pitcher Kendrick on deck. And Schneider lofts one in the shallow center if it falls for a hit. So Pelfrey gives up a hit to the number 8 batter. Second hit for the Phillies. Keys to the game are brought to you by Cadillac. Visit Cadillac.com to find a dealer near you.
Well, Terry Collins is seeing if Harris can have that Hairston magic in the third hole today. Duda's time has no home runs. Had a nice double in yesterday's game, pinch hitting. Maybe he'll have his first today. And Tejada's D, we've been watching 4 errors since he's taken over for Reyes, 3 in the last couple days. He's going to have to shore that up a little bit. You and I were both talking to, well, Terry was mentioning about it today, about Chip Hale going to try to work on Tejada to try to have that glove facing home plate when he tries to get those balls to the right of him in the hole.
Well, if not, you got to use the backhand. I mean, we saw this when Kaz Matsui came over here, the reluctance to use the backhand. And it seems there's a little of that with Tejada right now.
Whatever happened to Kaz Matsui? He just disappeared, didn't he?
Well, he was in Colorado, then he was in Houston. And
I don't know where he is now.
I think he was hurt last year. Not quite certain about this season. 2-1 to Kendrick.
Oh.
Right back up the middle. So Kendrick has his second hit of the season. So just as in the first inning, after Pelfrey had retired the first 2 hitters, he gets in 2-out trouble. This time giving up hits to the 8 and 9 batter. And so Jimmy Rollins comes up with 2 out and 2 on. Rollins flied to left his first time.
This is a situation right here, Gary, when I hit off a sinker ball pitcher where you can hurt him with an RBI, 2 RBI, I would look for 1 strike inside. See if he tried to sneak one by me in. He's sitting on it.
Starts with a curveball. 0-1.
And of course, if you don't get it, you just take it out.
Although I think Jimmy here premeditatively was swinging no matter what. He tried to jump Pelfrey there.
Out to right, and Harris drifts over. That retires the side. 2 hits and 2 left in the second. 1-0 Phil. Lineup together. A step in the right direction today as Jose Reyes was out doing running drills, and Terry was taking a personal interest in making sure that he did it the right way. Sandy Alderson looking on, as well as Jose's agent. I like that part, the demonstration part. And then for the first time, Reyes ran the bases. Going home to first to third. He later legged out a double. Didn't leg out a triple. He said, I ran enough. I didn't need to show that I could go for home to third. But those were all good signs. And afterward, Reyes said he felt normal. And the brass put their heads together, and they're going to wait till later today, because Reyes did more work after that. Normal baseball drills, batting practice, and ground balls. And they all got together and talked it over, and later today they'll come to a determination as to whether he is ready to go, and if he is, he'll play a game for the Brooklyn Cyclones tomorrow. And after that, presumably, be ready to rejoin the Mets.
7 total sprints around the bases for Jose.
And that's always something that's in the back of your mind. Is this going to be the stride that I might re-injure it? You know, it's always going to be there. Man's hoping that's not going to happen.
1-2 to Lucas Duda, leading off the home second, and he takes one the other way toward the left field corner, just as he did yesterday, and buries it for a leadoff double. Duda's now 3 for 3 in this series, and that's exactly the way his base hit against Danny Baez proceeded yesterday.
Well, what do you do to a sinker baller? You go the other way, and that ball didn't sink. And he went right with it beautifully.
He may not have a home run, but he has really started to use the whole field and pick it up offensively.
Nice in yesterday's game. Chip Hale said he'll keep trying until Duda's safe at home. Finally, yesterday, he was safe at home.
There's Ronnie Polino, who's 0 for 7 in this series, and just 2 for his last 23. And he grounds one to short, fails to advance the runner, and Rollins throws him out, 1 away. So an unproductive out for Polino, and Ruben Tejada will come up.
Yeah, you're right. Paulino, who goes the other way, Gary, so naturally, and there he rolls over on one. Doesn't advance the runner.
So here's Tejada. And in talking about Tejada's defense, we referenced Kaz Matsui, who were wondering where. He played for the Astros last year, and then after the season signed with a Japanese team, the Rakuten Eagles. Is that a big league team, or is that a minor league team?
Minor league team.
Japan. I've never heard of that. Anyway, he's only hitting .248 over in Japan, so it's like Kaz's career is winding down. Ruben Tejada 2 for 9 in this series, hitting a .259 for the year. His on base percentage a respectable .346. Looking to move Duda from second with 1 out.
You see Tejada, how he holds his bat. His bat, when he puts it on his back shoulder, it's really horizontal to the ground, and I don't have an issue with that. You know, Cepeda was just the exact opposite. Orlando Cepeda, for all you kids, he was a Hall of Famer, first baseman for the Giants and Cardinals. He held his bat actually vertical, perpendicular to the ground. So it doesn't really matter. To me, it's all about the top of the bat, the end of the bat, the barrel. You don't want to wrap that bat around your head, because then it's got to come all the way around again, and it makes for a longer swing.
And you know, Keith, that's what he does.
Yeah,
slight, but he has it flat, and the top of the bat will try to point at the pitcher at some point.
Right. I always had one of my Bill Robinson. I had him watch, and I didn't want my bat to go over the crown of my helmet, my batting helmet. And I got in trouble when I barrel that bat got ahead of me in front towards the pitcher, and it makes for a longer swing.
Worked for Julio Franco.
Sure did.
But not too many guys can pull that off. Kendrick falls behind 3-1.
We talked about Cepeda and we talked about Franco. We're talking about 2 of the strongest men to ever play the game.
Gary Sheffield had a little of that.
Yes, he did.
He's on the list too.
Yeah. Talk about guys who hit the ball hard. 3-1 now to Tejada with Pelfrey on deck. And Ruben bounces one to short. Duda's going to try for third, and they'll let him go. And that's the second out.
Boy, I'd have been inclined right there for Jimmy Rollins to get the lead runner here and get him out of scoring. See, there's the barrel of the bat coming around his head. That's a great angle. Great job there, guys. And now that whole barrel of the bat's got to come all the way around. It's a lot longer avenue for it to come around. So it makes for a slower swing, a slower bat. It's hard to, more difficult to square up in today's parlance.
So now Pelfrey, who is 1 for 30 at the plate this year. And you see the lifetime batting average, .086. That is the lowest batting average for any active player in the major leagues who's had at least 200 at bats. And that helps Kendrick get through the second inning. Brought to you by the Smurfs in 3D in theaters July 29th.
What will Hollywood come up with next? That's brilliant.
Brilliant.
There are new ideas out there every day.
That was the greatest part. That was the greatest part of my kids becoming teenagers. No longer have to.
No more Smurf movie.
No more animation.
You guys are in the Screen Actors Guild. You come up with ideas.
That's right.
Michael Martinez leads off in the third inning.
This might surprise you. No one's asked us yet.
Shocked.
Murph playing real close, protecting against a drag bunt. At third,
Martinez bounced out his first time up and shows bunt and takes a strike 0-2. Reyes kibitzing in the dugout. Amazing he's been able to keep still as long as he has.
now he's learning to relax and conserve energy.
The Mets will be thrilled to have him back. They'll be thrilled to have David Wright back. David's now played 2 games on rehab down in Florida. And perhaps by the time the Mets begin their road trip Friday, they can have their 2 linchpin players back on the left side of the infield. Maybe Reyes a lot sooner than that. 2-2 to Martinez, and it's low inside. So Pelfrey was ahead 0-2, goes to a full count on Martinez, who's batting in front of Utley and Howard.
Just a beautiful day for a ball game.
I sat at the stands here yesterday.
Yeah, how did that go?
It was fantastic.
Were you in the sun or the shade?
A little bit of both. It was a 4 o'clock game. Started in the sun, finished in the shade. Pulled down to first, and Duda's got it. 1 away.
You said you had some super seats, huh?
Yeah, they were really nice. Right down behind the plate.
You got pull or what?
Rarely.
When I get seats here, I go over tank. What's going on?
I'll hook you up with my connection.
I'm going to have to give Lorraine a call.
Here's Chase Utley, who's walked, stolen a base, and scored the only run of this game. And he hits one out to center field, chasing Pagan back a few strides. And there are 2 men down. There's Scott Hairston, the hero of yesterday's Mets victory, had a huge day. First run of the game brought to you by the all-new Chevy Cruze. Find the Cruze and 9 other Chevy models with 32 MPG at ChevyOffers.com. Ryan Howard getting it through the shift to drive in the game's first run. And the Mets have put together this new plan for how to play the overshift, overlapping the third baseman and putting him on the right side, leaving the shortstop at home on the left side.
Well, there's more territory to cover, even though there's less likely that the ball's going to be hit to the left side of the infield, but Tejada will cover more ground than Murph.
What I wonder is, when they have Reyes and Wright back, will they do the same thing? Or will they have David play the left side the way he always had?
I think David will play the left side because David has enough speed to cover. What you're covering against is the pop-up. The pop-up that is on foul territory, you need some speed. Tejada has that to get there, and he did it yesterday.
Right. Howard hit one of those yesterday, and Tejada had to really hustle to get over in foul ground.
That's a good fastball by Mike right there. That had a little on it.
Pelfrey ahead 1-2. And Howard pulls that one into the shift, and this one Turner can easily get to. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Mike Pelfrey, his first of the afternoon. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the third, top of the order coming up. Bottom of the third. That's got a couple of hits in the first inning. A leadoff double from Duda in the second. But Kendrick has held them in check. Don, Turner, and Harris at the top of the Mets batting order will try and get it started in the bottom of the third. Mets scored 10 runs in a 5-game stretch and then scored 11 runs on 15 hits yesterday. So it's been feast or famine. Pagan grounded out to first base his first trip. Angel just 9 for his last 52 at the plate after a long hot stretch. Third baseman Martinez playing well in against Angel. 2-0. Turner to follow, and then Harris against this Philly pitching staff, which is #1 in the National League with a 3.10 ERA as a staff. And I read this today and I was kind of stunned by it. The Philly pitchers, the starting pitchers, have issued the fewest walks and have the most strikeouts in the majors. Martinez. And there's never been a team in the live ball era since 1920 that their starters have led the league in both those categories. Really? Fewest walks and most strikeouts as Kendrick promptly walks Pagan to start the inning. And the Mets are not seeing Halladay and Lee in this series. They're seeing kind of the back end of the Phillies rotation. Although Hamels not the back end of anybody's rotation.
Well, with that walk there, the Mets have done a better job against these Phillies pitchers. Worley, who has great control, walked a few. Hamels had 4 walks yesterday, and a leadoff walk here from Pagan.
Here's Justin Turner, who grounded out to short his first time up. And that's a double play ball right at Utley. And the easiest of 4-6-3 double plays, 2 out and nobody on. Well, wait, when we just showed Cliff Lee, was he wearing a headset in the dugout?
I think he was. Well, TBS is doing the game today. Maybe they have him on Turner.
I was going to say, you know, there's all this dust up now with the Yankees and the Blue Jays about stealing signs. You know, you see somebody on a headset in the dugout.
Oh, I think he's related. Cliff, when he pitches, you know what's coming. It doesn't matter anyway.
2 out. Here's Willie Harris, who singled to center his first time up.
I do have to tell you, though, but he's speaking. I do. When we played, I don't know if Keith did this when you would take a rare day off, Keith. You used to put the headset on and listen to Ralph.
Yeah, the broadcast, absolutely. Spring training a lot.
It was fun.
Do you suppose anybody in that dugout puts on the headset now and listens to us?
No, not during regular season. Some pitchers will do it, but you know, you got TV out there in the bullpen.
Yeah, with the sound on?
I think so.
Could be a problem. Harris hits one to deep right field over the head of Brown and off the Mo zone. Willie Harris put in the lineup today for his success against Kendrick, and that success continues. A single and now a long double.
Well, if they're going to move the fences in next year, which there has always been talk about this is one spot where they can do it. This ball is a fastball. It didn't sink. Inner half. You can just cut right across the Mo zone there, like the truncate, and just bring it in. And then you can increase more space back there. You can have more people, buy more beverages.
Oh, so you're saying you could expand the Mo zone?
Yes.
Because those people who are in the Mo zone there, right at field level and right field, that ball is coming right at them. That's exciting for them.
You're channeling your Philip Glass, Richard Meyer. You're going to become the architect.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank Lloyd Wright. That's where I would. That's one place I would do it, from that 378 spot. Just bring it straight across, or maybe even over by that Xerox sign.
2-0 to Murphy, who had a base hit to right center his first time up.
Yeah, if you do the Frank Lloyd Wright, Keith, you have to watch out for the falling water.
Now, I don't think we've mentioned this yet, but we're actually going to be out in that neighborhood of the ballpark on Wednesday night.
That's right.
We're going to do the game from the Pepsi porch. You won't be able to see the Mo zone. You'll be hanging over it. 3-0 now to Murphy. But that's going to be a lot of fun.
I told you, I sat up there. It's almost like you're sitting on top of the right fielder's head. It's a really cool view out there, and we'll have a blast, just like we did when we did the game in the upper tank.
How many years ago was that, Gary? We did that.
It was the last year of Shea, so it was 08.
At the big Shea.
So it'll be a different angle from us to view the ball game.
And Kendrick pitching around Murphy, walks him on 4 pitches. We'll give you an idea just how hot Murphy is right now and how cold Bay is. So Kendrick walks his second batter of the inning, and he'll face Bay with 2 men on.
The last time up for Jason,
He got ahead of him with 2 sinkers on the outer half of the plate, outside corner.
Jason came up with 2 out and 2 on in the first and hit a ground ball to short. Same situation here in the third with the Mets down a run. And he lays off 1-0. Harris at second with 2-out double. Murphy at first. Mets started this uprising after 2 out and nobody on. Yesterday, the Mets had 2 different innings in which they had 2 out and nobody on and scored. In one of those innings, they scored 4 runs. The Mets have had 38 different innings this year in which they have scored after 2 out and nobody on, which is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
That's almost half their games they've had an inning like that. Bay hits it down the right field line over toward the corner. Brown runs out of room, a foul ball. So Bay comes back.
Well, he had the right idea there, going the other way.
Now Kendrick ahead of him 1-2. Good chase, and it's 2-2. Bay has not really been able to fight himself out of a hole very often this year. He was 120 with 2 strikes. Now the 2-2 and another grounder to short. So same situation, same result for Bay, and Kendrick has worked around runners in scoring position in each of the first 3 innings. On to the 4th, 1-0 Phils. Absolutely thrilled to have with us one of the greatest actors of his generation, Morgan Freeman. And it's just great to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's been good to be here. As he used to say all the time, it's good to be anywhere at my age.
And you're in town supporting a very important day that's coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, we're trying to, I'm not trying to, we're going to be kicking off the celebration of Mandela Day. Mandela Day is, we won't call it a holiday. It's not a day for taking a day off. Madiba wants, if you're going to celebrate his birthday, do something with it. So the idea is that he spent 67 years in public service. We're asking everybody to give 67 minutes. On that day, do 67 minutes of something good. And that would be all the celebration he would want.
So Nelson Mandela turns, what, 93?
93 on the 18th.
Amazing. What a life. And, of course, you got to play Nelson Mandela in the movie Invictus.
What a joy. Yeah. And working with my favorite director for the third time. So, it's a win-win situation all the way around.
Well, you've done a couple movies with Clint Eastwood around sports. $3 million Baby.
Yeah. Well, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, with the sports.
Yeah. Did Unforgiven.
The other one was, great.
Well, I know he's famous for having the quickest shoots in Hollywood. I mean, you do them in 38, 39 days, right?
Yeah, well, he always comes in under whatever the assigned time is. He comes in under budget and ahead of time. He's a very quick worker. He works fast.
Not a lot of takes, right?
Not a lot.
What kind of challenges did it present, playing Mandela, a man you admire, of course, we all admire? It had to be nerve-wracking to prepare for that, or was it?
No. I had only one concern, and that was accent. I don't do accents. I'm not one of those people who's facile, with accents. So I was concerned that I would embarrass him trying to sound like him. But when it came time to do it, the right thing came out. So,
Well, now you've played an American president.
Yeah.
You've played God, which I might add you did flawlessly.
Well, thank you very much.
You have to if you're God, right?
Who do you compare it to?
But when people talk about your movies, which role comes to mind for you first? What's the thing that you're the most proud of?
The most proud of, movie-wise, is Glory. But the role that always comes to mind for me is the one that kicked off my movie career, which was in Street Smart with Christopher Reeve. I played a pimp. I got an Academy Award nomination for playing a pimp. And that was the first time I had a co-starring part in a movie. And it always stands out.
Now, the movie that I think a lot of people, especially men, think of first is Shawshank Redemption.
Most people. Men, women, and children. First thing they think of is Shawshank Redemption. I'm surprised whenever I hear something else coming out of people, But it was a good film. And the world thinks it was a great film. So...
Was there any one? Everybody has to start from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
When did you, a point in your career where you got your break? Was there a particular person? Was it a particular role that got you going forward in your career?
It's interesting because when you ask what was the thing, what do you consider to be the moment of your beginning of your success, it's hard to pinpoint it because as you work backwards, you see all kinds of connections. I was doing summer stock in Stowe, Vermont in 1967, and I had the summer made. The theater director said, I want you to stay here, I want you to do my fall season, and I had auditioned for a play in New York. Now, Stowe, Vermont, New York. And they had asked me to come back a third time to audition, and the director at Stowe said, tell them no, you got a job. So I told them no, and they said, okay, you got the part. So that was the beginning of my New York stage career, 20 years. So I think, going back, that was a crucial moment there. We get a lot of those.
Was there any particular actor that you worked with that you were kind of in awe of coming up? That really...
Oh, heavens. Oh, yeah, many of them. Clint Eastwood, Jack Nicholson, Robert Redford, any of the actors, any of the big names that I have had the good fortune to work with. It's like, will I ever? Yeah. Almost all of them.
Well, tomorrow is Mandela Day.
Tomorrow is Mandela Day. Tomorrow we're asking the world to honor Nelson Mandela by donating 67 minutes of their time to doing something that helps make the world a better place. Doesn't matter what you do.
Seems like a simple request, right?
It is simple. I think it's extremely simple. But it's just a matter of deciding what can I do, and then going ahead and doing it.
Can't think of any better way to honor his birthday than that.
Not any better way, and it certainly will make him feel good. He's a little feeble now at 93, so whatever we can do to give him an emotional boost is good.
Morgan Freeman, thank you so much for taking some time with us.
My pleasure.
It's great to see you.
It's really good to see you guys again.
My pleasure.
The great Morgan Freeman. Mike Pelfrey with a 1-2-3 inning, 1-0 Phillies. On bottom line sales event. Mets have a makeup game with the Marlins tomorrow night, and then the Cardinals are in for 3 Tuesday night, Wednesday night from the Pepsi porch, and Thursday afternoon before the Mets start a 10-game road trip in Florida. Now tomorrow Keith and I are going to be here, but Ronnie, I know you've got some major plans tomorrow.
Well, my 3rd annual golf outing is tomorrow, and we raise money for type 1 diabetes. Why? Because my youngest son Jordan contracted the disease when he was 10 years old. And I'll tell you one thing. You want to become a doctor or learn about a disease, have your kid contract it. You learn it in about 48 hours. He's doing great, folks out there, if you're worried. Jordan's doing fantastic. And this golf outing is tons of fun, and we raise a lot of money, so it's a good thing.
And doing better and better every year.
Every year. I'm finally trying to kind of figuring it out.
Duda pops one up into shallow left, and Raul Ibanez moves over. 1 out in the bottom of the 4th. So Duda, who doubled that way his first time up, this time
with a lazy fly, and now Ronnie Polino bounced out to short his first trip. Mets have had runners in scoring position in every inning against Kyle Kendrick, but unable to crack through.
Keith, you asked the question about Morgan Freeman. Was he, people are nervous when they must act with him if you're a young actor, and was he ever nervous? He said he was nervous to everybody. We don't have a lot of people, as Polino grounds back to Kendrick, we don't have a lot of people in this booth that all of us are like humming. Well, we're going to ask Morgan Freeman because, he is in the top echelon, isn't he?
He's a very good Ralph Cramden there. Ronnie.
I watched a lot of that. Here's Ruben Tejada with 2 out and nobody on. Tejada bounced to short his first time up.
Well, this is a big out for Kendrick. You want the pitcher leading off the next inning, particularly Pelfrey, who Gary talked about earlier. Pelf, not known for his expertise with the lumber in his hands. This is the guy you want to get out.
It's funny when you watch Kendrick's motion, and we were talking about it before. I believe it was 1983. John Denny won the Cy Young with 19 wins. Looks almost exactly like John Denny. Same kind of windup over the top of the head, has that little lag, and then kind of pushes off to home plate. Gets kind of up on his toes. Lags there with that left foot and then throws across his body. Most sinker ball pitchers will throw across their body. That's how they get that sharp movement down and in to the right-handed hitters.
He doesn't really drive off that back foot, does he?
He tries to, but he doesn't enough.
Now, when Ronnie's talking about that lag in the middle of the delivery, is that something that would confuse a hitter?
Well, I'd have to get up there. You'd make adjustments. When a hitter focuses on the pitcher, he focuses out the ball out of the hand. That's where your focus is. And you see the motion, Gary, and if there's a funky motion that gets you in trouble, you make adjustments as you face the pitcher, and you make your necessary adjustments.
First 1-2-3 inning for Kendrick this afternoon. 1-0 Phillies after 4. fifth inning, brought to you by Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles with the best-selling values in America.
And the forecast for the next 4 days next week are into the mid-90s.
Hot.
It's going to be Disco Inferno.
Mike Pelfrey down 1-0 as the Phillies come to bat in the fifth. Pelfrey settled in to retire the last 7. Brian Schneider had himself a single to center field his first time up. 8-9-1 in the Phillies order up in the fifth. Pelfrey gave up 4 base runners first time through the batting order. Mixing in his breaking stuff more second time through. And throws the high fastball to Schneider, 1-1.
Pel's got a little tight breaking ball today.
He does.
You know, that's why he's had success. He's got a little late break. Put that, bottle it. Put it in the refrigerator, keep it fresh.
Does that work?
He had kind of that loopy, lazy slider. This one's almost like in between a slider and a cutter, Keith.
Yep, it's got a little late, tight break.
Hit to shortstop. And Tejada in front of it. 1 away. We were talking earlier about the errors that Tejada's been making, moving to his right especially.
You know, sometimes you can make up for that by just using your feet. You know, just get your body all the way in front. I think he's just been catching that off his right foot, and that's one of the reasons that some of the balls have eluded him.
So now Kendrick, who singled up the middle his first time up. Pelfrey's now retired 8 in a row. Phillies with 2 starters on the disabled list, with Roy Oswalt and Joe Blanton down. And until they are ready, Kendrick holds down a spot in that Phillies rotation. And he low bridges Pelfrey for his second hit of the day.
Wow. Almost took his head off right there.
This fall, Anderson Cooper is coming to Fix with a fresh alternative to those tired old talk shows. Be sure to catch Anderson, premiering September 12th at 4, only on Pix 11. So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Jimmy Rollins, who's twice flied out to left and to right. Rollins just 2 for 11 in this series. Each team now with 4 hits in the game.
Well, look out, Pel. Duck.
Ooh. Mike is 6'7", and that base hit was about 6'4". So he had to move. Speaking of which, see what John Lannon did last night in beating the Braves after getting hit in the face in his previous start and didn't miss any time at all.
He's a tough New York kid.
Toward the left field line and slicing foul. And the funny part about that is that after the game, Davey Johnson attempted to praise him just that way, but he said he's a tough New Jersey kid.
That's right. That's right.
He only missed by 1 stick. Today, with Jair Jurgens on the mound, the Braves up 2-0 in the third. Going up against Tom Gorzolani. Martin Prado has put a spark back in the Braves. He has an RBI single in that game. Coming back from the DL. And Rollins has himself a base hit. Kendrick will pull in at second. And so the Phillies with back-to-back 1-out hits.
Well, we were praising Pel's slider here, and he threw a hanger up there. And Rollins all over it. So
now Michael Martinez will come up with 2 men on. Martinez now 0 for 8 in this series with a couple of ground balls to the right side today.
Well, usually when most people would be a bad play to bunt, but that's part of his game. So you still have to take it away.
The thing about Martinez is he does like to bunt, but he's not that fast.
Yeah.
So he's really got to bunt perfectly to bunt for a hit. 28 years old, Rule 5 pick out of the Nationals organization.
Big pitch here, Keith.
Nice pitch to hit. This is where a sinker ball pitcher usually goes to his bread and butter, and that's a sinker away, even though look at the catcher set up in.
Ripped in the air to deep right field. Back goes Harris near the wall, and it's out of here. Michael Martinez with his first major league home run. A 3-run shot, and the Phillies are up 4-0. Well, for the sinker baller Pelfrey, playing at a pitcher's ballpark, that's 16 home runs he's allowed this year.
And you see the angle going back there, a little 45-degree angle, just did it right in the right spot. And I said, you know, sinker ball pitcher probably going to look for something to sink, get a double play. Pelt tried to come in, didn't get it. Give the hitter credit there.
So Martinez gets his first big league home run, coming in his 92nd at bat. And that is a huge, cruel blow for Pelfrey.
And remember, this rally started with a base hit, a one-out base hit off the pitcher, starting pitcher, Kyle Kendrick.
Well, Martinez playing third base, helping to fill in for the injured Placido Polanco as DJ Carrasco gets up in the Mets bullpen. Tapper back to Pelfrey as Utley grounds out for the second out. Now, at a point in the season where, because of their circumstances, every game is crucial for the Mets, that is an enormous blow by an unlikely player.
And when you're on the winning team, a team that's in the hunt, that has a successful season, you always get it from everybody. Everybody chips in.
I mean, you know, they lose their closers. Bastardo turns into John Franco. They lose Polanco, Michael Martinez, it's a 3-run bomb. But just every button they push, Valdez last season, every position he played filling in for Utley and Polanco. He had his best year ever in the major leagues.
Ryan Howard drove in the first Philadelphia run with a base hit in the first. Pelfrey's inability to stay ahead in the count today has really cost him. Strike to ball ratio hasn't been nearly what he'd like it to be. Two and two now to Howard. He's 1 for 9 in this series. Raul Ibanez on deck. Flecked out to deep left center. Man, is he strong. And back goes Pagan to get it. And that ends the inning. But Michael Martinez, the Rule 5 pick, slugs his first big league home run. And it's a crusher. The 3-run shot gives the Phillies a 4-0 lead halfway through. 4-0 lead thanks to Michael Martinez's 3-run homer. And Mike Pelfrey's day comes to an end. Jason Friday will bat for him, leading off in the bottom of the 5th. So Pelfrey out after 5 innings, 4 runs and 6 hits on his ledger.
And pretty much with our theme going into the second half, Gary, about the importance of these next 3 weeks for the Met Ball Club. And Terry Collins right now managing as if he's in September. You got a pinch hit here. You got to get back in this ball game. Here we are in the 5th.
Ball and a strike to Friday, who's hitting just .226. B.J. Carrasco's been busy in the Mets bullpen. Mets will have Pagan and Turner to follow Friday here in the 5th against Kendrick.
One thing I noticed for Jason, since he hasn't been playing a lot, Gary and Keith, is that when he first came and was playing a lot, he had a good idea of the strike zone. It looks like he's been going out, and that out of the strike zone, that happens, and they don't get a lot of playing time.
Well, it's the toughest job in the game is coming off the bench, being a bench player. It is more suited for a veteran.
He gave the Mets a solid month of everyday play when Angel Pagan was out of the lineup.
Solid defense as well.
Kyle Kendrick, just his 8th start of the year, as he's been shuffled back and forth. Bullpen starter. Friday hooks one deep but foul. Makes it to the Pepsi porch on the wrong side. Jason has a couple of 3-run homers to his credit this year. Got some pop. Pagan on deck. Friday fouls another one.
To see Jason's old team, the Minnesota Twins, have renamed Joe Nathan the closer for the struggling Matt Caps.
And his first save last night since the Twins home opener. And the Twins, who at one time were 16.5 out, are 6 out. And tied with the Royals this afternoon. Friday making Kendrick work in this at bat. We mentioned it's Kendrick's 8th start. In his first 7, he's had 3 lousy runs. In the other 4, he allowed 1 earned run or less. He's won.
He's working on one of those kind of efforts today.
And you see the Nats getting back on the board there, on the board, and tying that one up.
Jurgens up against Jurgens.
Yeah, he's human. Wow.
In his 1.8 ERA.
Yeah, that happened in the All-Star game. You don't see that very often. They had 3 straight Atlanta Brave pitchers pitch for the National League. Jurgens, then Venters, and then Kimbrel.
After the first 2 pitchers were Phillies, with Halladay and Lee each going 2 innings. This is the 11th pitch of the at bat, and there'll be a 12th. In that game in Atlanta, Roger Bernardina tripled in a run and then scored on a Dan Uggla throwing error to tie the game.
Boy, Uggla of late has struggled defensively. He is just on the interstate still. Yeah, this batting average.
And Friday works out a walk. That was some turn at bat. 12 pitches. And Friday gets aboard the 3rd walk for Kendrick. Well, we showed you some footage of Jose Reyes today running the bases. This is from Friday night. David Wright's rehab debut for the St. Lucie Mets. Had a double off the wall his first time up. Ran hard second to home to score. David played his 2nd game on rehab last night. He'll play again later this afternoon for St. Lucie, as he works his way back from a fracture in his back. Here's Angel Pagan as the Mets try to work their way back from a 4-run deficit here. And he lifts one out to left. And Ibanez right there. So one pitch, and Pagan is retired after the 12-pitch marathon for Friday. One out and one on. Here's Justin Turner, is 0 for 2. Last time up, grounded into a double play. Kendrick at 68 pitches for the afternoon. His first start in 11 days. You've been through that, Ronnie, as a guy who, starts and then goes back to the bullpen and then starts again. It'll be awfully difficult to keep your sharpness and the ability to go deep into a game.
I think it takes a lot of intelligence to make it.
Why did Kendrick not throw that ball to second?
What is going on? I mean, Rollins was there. Ronnie, you take it.
Well, he came from a long distance. All Kendrick had to do is be patient. Rollins is starting as a pole position. Take your time.
He did.
You have plenty of time to get there.
He did do the curl hop there, and then Rollins was there to throw it.
He panicked. That's what happened.
He had Friday going first to second, and Rollins could have had him easily, and Turner would have still been out at first. But the Mets get a break. The inning's still alive. And Willie Harris will come to bat. Well, Willie's stuck in the lineup today in the 3-hole with Beltran still ailing with the flu, and he has come through with a single and a double. Doubled off the wall and right his last time up. Friday at second and 2 out. And Harris takes a strike.
Gary, as far as Kendrick's concerned, I think what you have to say to yourself at his point in his career, he's a young pitcher still at 26. It's better than AAA. Just whatever they tell me to do, I'll be happy to do it. Whatever you want me to start, I'll start. You want me to bullpen, whatever it takes to stay at this level.
And you figure at some point, even if it's not on this particular staff, there'll be an opportunity somewhere.
Absolutely.
Most teams are not blessed with the kind of starting pitching that Charlie Manuel can run out there when all of his starters are healthy.
I think what happens for most pitchers is that if they've been starting pitchers through the minor leagues, they're reluctant to go to the bullpen. They think of it as a demotion. There was a wonderful article on Tyler Clippard, who started in the Yankee chain. He thought it was a demotion when he was sent to the bullpen, and he's flourished as a Washington National.
Now he's embraced it.
Well, it used to be when you were a middle reliever that you didn't make a lot of money.
And you're on your way out sometimes.
And it was a demotion, and even though, or if you were a reliever, you weren't going to make the money if you were a starting pitcher. But today, with the finances today and the salaries, you can make a lot of money in the middle of a bullpen doing middle relief.
Two from Kendrick to Harris, and Willie fouls it off. Look, it's that fine line that general managers have to tread, right? You've got the growing importance of bullpens and the depth of your bullpen being a key to your team's success, while recognizing at the same time that relief pitching is the most fungible quality in the game. Guys go from great to bad to great again year after year. 3-2 now to Harris.
Yeah, it's one of those things on the team that can be very interchangeable, isn't it, from year to year?
It's got to be a nice pitch right here for Harris. We talked about it before. It's going to be a sinker away. 3-2 count. And there's a sinker away. And you've got a red-hot Murphy in the on-deck circle, left-hand hitter. Got good coverage there for protection for Harris right here in a full count.
Mets are 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position today after going 6 for 10 yesterday. Harris trying to pick up Friday from second with 2 out. And he hits one in the air to right. Plenty of room for Brown as he goes back. And that retires the side. So Kendrick keeps it in the ballpark. And keeps the Mets off the board. The fifth inning brought to you by Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles with the best-selling values in America. After 5, 4-0 Philly. Culinary delights. DJ Carrasco comes on to pitch for the Mets in the 6th inning.
Well, DJ, you see his numbers from the first half. 4.97, 0-2, had one save opportunity.
And one start this year.
Yep, in Atlanta.
Raul Ibanez leads off in the 6th inning. Ibanez a comebacker and a strikeout 0 for 2. Phillies got a run in the first on a Ryan Howard 2-out RBI single, and then a stunning 3-run homer by Michael Martinez, his first in the big leagues. Chases Pelfrey. Popped up. Who's going to get it? Harris over near that short fence, sliding. And he couldn't get it. Foul ball.
Well, that's the only way you can go after this ball. That wall is so close that you have to go with the slide. You caught it right on his hip, Keith.
Just overran it there, or overslid it would be the better word. An overslide.
Two from Carrasco is up high. DJ pitched an inning on Friday night in the opening game of the series. Got the Phillies out 1-2-3. Now trying to keep the Mets around in this game. Down 4-0 in the 6th. Tries the backdoor breaking ball and misses 2-2.
I thought it was interesting after the first game of the series. Terry Collins addressed how here's Carlos Beltran, how his team struggles to come back in games. You know, it's important for them to get the lead early.
Toward the hole and past the diving Duda, and Ibanez has a base hit. Good effort by Duda on a ball that wasn't hit all that hard, but managed to find a hole.
Well, Lucas going to his right here and diving with the backhand. Just couldn't quite get there, and Turner wasn't going to get there. Perfectly placed. You're right, that ball was not hit that hard.
So the Phillies have the leadoff man on for the first time today. And Dominic Brown steps in. Brown is grounded to first and taking a call third strike, 0 for 2. Phillies now with 7 hits in the game. Pelfrey gave up 4 runs and 6 hits. Walked 1, struck out 2 in his 5 innings. And on the hook for what could be his 9th loss against 5 wins. John Mayberry Jr. on deck. Good rip by Brown, 2-1. Dominic Brown, who grew up in Florida, played his senior year of high school in Georgia, and was recruited by many football powers as a wide receiver. He's going to go to the University of Miami before he decided to sign instead with the Phillies.
Well, we were given a little showcase of that on Friday night, weren't we, when he scored from first base on the triple from Mayberry Jr. I don't know how many strides it was from first to third, but it wasn't like most people.
And he was still at top speed third to home. You see a lot of guys going first to home who, you know, might leak a little oil between third base and home plate. Checking on Ibanez with 3-2 and nobody out. There goes Ibanez, and Brown fouls it off.
I like that, right? You're up, got a 4-run lead, pushing the envelope a little bit. Ibanez, who doesn't have any speed at this point in his career. And Charlie, he knows what he's doing down there. Little sign to his third base coach, Juan Samuel.
So he won't run this time. Well, he's 39. He plays every day. You don't want to wear him out.
Just tried to sneak one there, and a good time to sneak one. It's a veteran move. Jason Bay is very good at that. Very selective in his stolen bases.
There he goes again, and Brown pops it up. Now Ibanez has to hustle to get back, and he makes it in time as Turner squeezes the pop up 1 away. That's a lot of sprinting for an old guy.
That's right.
It's like enough already.
So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Mayberry, who grounded to third. Nice play by Murphy, going into foul ground and throwing him out, and then flied out to center field. Mayberry 2 for 10 in this series. Phillies have beaten the Mets 7 of 11 so far this year. Mets played 2 series in Philadelphia in the first month of the season, which was really odd. And then played them here at Citi Field in late May. And the results has been the same in each of those first 3 go-rounds.
When did they go back there in August, right? I think is their next trip into Philadelphia.
The Mets do not play. They play a home 3-game series the last week of the season. The final homestand. That's on a weekend.
But they don't go to Philly in September.
Nope. And that shouldn't be. And you're in division, you should be going home and away throughout your division.
Unfortunately,
in September.
with odd-numbered divisions, I don't think you can figure out a way to do that.
And there is talk of a realignment. Teams going, Arizona possibly going to the American League. Gary, are you shaking your head?
Well, if you have 15-team leagues, you have to have interleague play every day.
Yeah.
Does anybody really want that? No. 1-1 to Mayberry, and a weak ground ball. In comes Tejada, out at second. Turner with the turn, and he got him. Nicely done by Tejada and Turner to turn the 6-4-3 double play. So they double up Mayberry, getting Carrasco through the top of the 6th. Mets looking for offense as they come up trailing 4-0. uncensored. Jaime Garcia pitching for the Cardinals today in Cincinnati. Reds and Cardinals have traded wins in the first 2 of that series. Nationals and Braves all even in Atlanta. The Pirates, who were in first place for a day, just a game out, try to take that series in Houston. The Marlins, who will be here tomorrow, have won 7 of 8. They got first inning home runs from Greg Dobbs and Hanley Ramirez today. And there are your later games in the National League. The Giants 3.5 up now in the West.
Prado came off the DL swinging the bat, hasn't he?
He needed it with Chipper Jones going on the DL.
Home run on Friday. He's got a base hit and RBI today.
Chipper had more trouble with his knee.
Same surgery that A-Rod had, that torn meniscus. That'll keep him out for something around a month. Daniel Murphy leads off in the home 6th as the Mets try and break through against Kyle Kendrick, who's given up just 4 hits and walked 3. Murphy's been aboard twice with a single and a walk. Murphy has walked very little this year, and he lifts this one out to right field. Dominic Brown started back, now in. 1 away. Well, Jason Bay has had some 2-out scoring chances. First inning, grounds 1 to Rollins. Third inning, 2-out, 2-on, same situation. And the ground ball again to the shortstop. So a frustrating day so far for Bay, who's just 2 for his last 23.
Nice little change up there. Pulled a string on him.
It's a good pitch because it looked exactly like his sinker, didn't it? Same delivery.
It's pitching away.
So now 1-2 strikes to Bay. And the changeup is down 2-2. Out to right field, and Brown barely has to move. And quickly there are 2 out. It's funny how this game works. The Mets thought before the All-Star break that they'd be facing Halladay, Lee, and Hamels in this series. The 3 Phillies All-Star pitchers. They look at the probables. They get no Halladay, no Lee, Worley, Kendrick, and Hamels in between them. So Worley shuts them down Friday night. They batter Hamels on Saturday, and they're getting shut down by Kendrick on Sunday. Judah pulls 1 foul.
And after the makeup game tomorrow night against the Marlins, the Cardinals come in. We have kind of the same scenario with Jaime Garcia pitching today. They'll miss him, and they're also going to miss Chris Carpenter.
Right, so they'll get Kyle Loesch and Kyle McClellan and Jake Westbrook in the 3 games.
Which doesn't bode very well because all those 3 guys throw very similar to Worley and Kendrick. Right-handed kind of sinker ball pitchers.
Tomorrow the Mets are going to face Clay Hensley of the Marlins. He's coming off the disabled list and he hasn't started a game in 3 years. He's been a relief pitcher. So
he's got to have a pitch limit, wouldn't you think, coming off the DL?
He was starting in the minors on rehab. They say he can throw 85 pitches. We'll see.
85 lately is about 4 innings.
That won't get you a W.
Duda's 1 for 2 today, and he fouls off the sinker, and it's 2-2. Ronnie Polino on deck. That's had early scoring chances in this game, but Kendrick's now retired 9 of the last 10 hitters. Two to Duda, and he pops one up in foul ground. Martinez over and puts it away to end the inning. So a 1-2-3 inning for Kyle Kendrick, and after 6 it's 4-0 Philadelphia. on rehab. And lest we forget, Johan Santana has been spending most of his season down in Port St. Lucie trying to get himself ready.
I never had to do that. That's seems like it'd be a lonely proposition down there, working on your craft and trying to get back to the big clubs.
There is both a positive and negative note concerning Santana and his injury. The positive thing is that his comparable, the guy with the same surgery, is Chen-Ming Wang. And Wang is throwing 94 on rehab right now and might be up with the Nationals by the end of the month. The cautionary part of that is it's taken 2.5 years for Wang to come back from that injury.
You know, it's an injury that doesn't have a lot of history. You know, everyone knows with the Tommy Johns and the different kind of surgeries, the rotator cuff surgery. But when you're talking about the front of that shoulder, there's more room to try to figure out how you're going to get better. And Santana, of course, we know, amazing athlete. That's a great factor in his strong athlete. Another positive factor.
1-2 to Brian Schneider, leading off in the 7th inning against DJ Carrasco, working his 2nd inning of relief. And Schneider cracks one to right, and Harris comes in and has to smother it. Schneider's got his 2nd hit of the game. Well, he got caught somewhere in between a catch, a dive, and playing it on a hop.
Well, once he realized he had to break for it right away. And once he realized that he wasn't going to get there, he does the proper thing. He just keeps his body in front, acts like a catcher practically. I can't think of the right word. Like a catcher blocking a ball in the dirt. Nicely done.
Now Kendrick goes up there to bunt. Molino's on it. The 2-4 sacrifice moves Schneider to 2nd. So Kendrick's had a perfect day at the plate. 2 hits, and now a sacrifice bunt. Don't let your summer fun get washed out by wicked weather. Stay out of trouble with Mr. G's forecast. Weeknights on the Pix 11 News at 10.
After that hit by Schneider, the Phillies have gotten some production. A couple of hits on the sacrifice from Kendrick. Schneider hitting 161, a couple of hits in this game, and Martinez hitting 213 with a 3-run bomb.
So the 8 and 9 hitters are 4 for 5. Molino out to talk to Carrasco. Tim Burdack up in the Mets bullpen with the big left-hand hitters looming in the lineup. A couple of batters away. In Atlanta, Ian Desmond with a 2-run double in the 4th, and the Nats have gone in front of Jurgens and the Braves 4-2. Isn't that a sweet face?
Mr. Met, he's everywhere.
Mr. Met looks like a cloud.
Is that a pillow? Nice pillow. Send that to Tom Seaver.
Jimmy Rollins 1 for 3 today. Mr. Met's biggest fan. Rollins singled to right, scored in front of Martinez's home run in the 5th. Schneider slow runner at 2nd with 1 out, and Rollins pulls it to right, and Harris will have to play this one on the hop. Schneider held up, and he'll go to 3rd and stop there. So Rollins has his 2nd hit of the afternoon. And now with Michael Martinez coming up, Terry Collins is going to make a move. Video recap brought to you by HP. Everybody on. Michael Martinez's 3-run homer, the big blow in this game. This time the Mets are going to turn him around and make him a right-hand batter as Carrasco exits. Tim Burdack will come on. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Metro PCS. Metro PCS is taking $50 off our hottest phones just in time for school. 4-0 Phillies in the 7th. Into a mess here in the 7th.
Yeah, pitched on Friday night, really got the Mets into a mess, and then Igarashi gave up that 3-run double to John Mayberry Jr. A couple of walks in that outing for Tim Burdack.
Martinez, a switch hitter, hit a 3-run bomb as a left-hand batter. He's hitting just 148 right-handed. And that's why Burdack's in to face him, as Rollins is chased back. Rollins with 19 steals. He's only been caught twice.
And to Burdack's defense, that inning he pitched, Ron, at 2/3 of an inning, that was the inning that the double play ball that Turner didn't turn it. He botched it and then got the lead, got the runner out, and then Tejada made an error. So they were all unearned runs charged to Burdack in that outing. He should have been in the dugout with a clean inning.
Well, the only thing he did wrong was walk Ryan Howard.
Exactly.
And he got the double play ball from Ibanez that was not turned, an intentional walk and an error, and he left. And then Igarashi gave up the 3-run double.
Out to left field, tagging is Schneider. Bay having some trouble with it, and finally puts it away. Schneider can walk on in. It's a sacrifice fly for Martinez, his 4th run batted into the game. And it stretches the Phillies lead to 5-0. I don't know if they heard footsteps from Pagan there or what, but that was strange.
Well, this is one of these series here where, oh boy, it was I got it, you take it. There's a miscommunication there. Nice recovery by Bay.
Maybe the anticipation for Bay is that throw, although they wouldn't have been able to make the throw, is better for the center fielder to take that ball. His momentum gives him a better chance to make that throw home.
Yeah, but you weren't going to throw anybody out.
No, you're right.
Even Snyder.
We've also talked over the last few weeks about the assertiveness that's required to be a center fielder, and how, you know, on those 50-50 balls, he's got to really take charge.
Yeah, I think maybe the read for Angel was that it was too deep to throw anybody out, but still, in those circumstances with Jason catching that ball on his heels, Rollins could have went to second. He chose not to, but he could have.
Utley fouls it back.
All 3 of these games in this series, if we had had Kiner's corner, you've got 3 hitters that have had big games in each single game. You had Mayberry for the Phillies driving in 5 runs in the first game. Yesterday you had Scott Hairston with a 5 spot, and now you got Martinez with a 4 spot.
Well, here's as Rollins runs and Utley pulls one foul. Here's the best way to judge what's happened in this series. Utley and Howard between them have gone 2 for 19, and yet the Phillies are in a position to take the series.
Nope, it takes 25 to win. Remember '86 when Carter went down and Ed Hearn came in and filled in for Gary during that period. Gary was having an MVP year and would have been the MVP of '86 in the National League if he hadn't been hurt. And Ed Hearn came in and just filled the void. You got to have that.
One and 2 now to Utley, who's 0 for 2. Walked, stole a base, scored a run in the first inning. Howard on deck. Phillies now with 5 runs and 9 hits. The Mets no runs and 4 hits.
Utley just doesn't look right in this whole series. Out of the season with the injury, and we're so used to seeing him just wearing out Met pitching. He looks a little bit like his timing is not there.
He's also had so many injuries to contend with the last couple of years.
Yes.
First the hip and then the knee.
You're talking about from the waist down, your foundation of hitting using your legs have been compromised for Chase Utley.
Well, what's really interesting is that Utley has 8 stolen bases on the year, and he's had the leg problems this year. Utley, it's only his 44th game of the year.
Now Burdack ahead of him 1 and 2. And it's lifted out to right. Willie Harris through the sunglasses. Squeezes it to end the inning. So Burdack comes in, gets a couple of outs. The Phillies tack on a run. 7th inning stretch. 5-0 Philadelphia. its coffee break. Remember to get dunked. Go to getdunked.com. Beautiful Sunday afternoon. Need to bring the sunscreen because it is a hot sun in the middle of July at Citi Field, where the crowds have been large throughout this weekend series with the Phillies. Mets got routed on Friday night, did the routing yesterday, and they've been shut out so far this afternoon. 5-0 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Well, the Mets looking for some offense with only 9 outs left to play with, trying to avoid having the Phillies take 2 out of 3 in this series. And even without facing Halladay and Lee, the Phillies have been able to throw up some fine starting pitching in this series.
Well, Vance Worley was outstanding on Friday night, and maybe even better has Kyle Kendrick been tonight. He just has really dominated the outside part of the strike zone. The lefties hasn't really pitched in a lot, but able to sink the ball, and has had a lot of success.
He's one of those pitchers when you go end of the day, he's throwing like this, Gary, he puts you to sleep, and you go and you had a comfortable 0 for 4, as we say in the game. He's been brilliant. He's pitched well, and got to give him credit.
So Kendrick, making just his 8th start of the year, has been on top of his game. It's had scoring chances early, but none lately, as Kendrick's retired 10 of the last 11. Met fans love Lazy Mary.
They do.
They do.
It's the only ballpark they play this song, right? You ever heard it at other ballparks?
I've heard it, but not as a 7th inning stretch.
Yeah, right.
Extravaganza. It's kind of like the equivalent of the song we used to hear in the minor leagues all the time, the Mexican hat dance.
That's right.
Pedro Beato up in the Mets bullpen as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Mets will have the lower third of the order coming up. Polino, Tejada, and then the pitcher's spot due. Kendrick still out there chucking, 90 pitches deep into his afternoon. Polino is 0 for 2, bounced to short and grounded one back to the mound. Ronnie now 0 for his last 10 at the plate. And he cracks one to deep left field. Back goes Ibanez to the track, back near the wall, and it's off the fence. Mayberry backing up nicely, and Polino stands at second with a leadoff double. Well, the Mets have hit a few balls in this game. They would leave other yards, but not this one.
Well, if they bring that fence down and paint a stripe there right above that Lincoln sign, that's a home run.
Oh, Ronnie Paulino thought it was a home run and then had to get on his horse once he realized there was a carom.
I don't see how anybody with that high fence can take for granted that the ball's going to get out of this yard.
Well, if you hit one like Scott Hairston did yesterday, 3 rows back in the second deck, then you can assume. Otherwise,
you can get in the El Dorado.
So here's Tejada. That's the Mets' 5th hit off Kendrick. 3 of the 5 have been doubles. Tejada 0 for 2. Bounced to short, fly to center. And the aforementioned Scott Hairston out on deck to pinch hit. Tejada first pitch swinging, grounds one just foul. Mets are 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position today. There's Hairston. He just had a marvelous day yesterday. A couple of doubles and a 3-run homer.
Kendrick was an amazing high school athlete, had an opportunity to go to many colleges on a football scholarship as a quarterback, but the money and the lure of being a major league pitcher won out.
Popped up. Buckley calling all the way. And Tejada retired one away. So now Scott Hairston. This was Scott's day yesterday.
That's a pretty good pitch from Hamels inside.
Down and in, you're darn right. And that one now right down the pipe. This one will have too much plate.
We have not seen too many balls land there in this ballpark.
It just shows you how pound for pound you know, they're different players, but I used to always say that Hojo, pound for pound, was one of the strongest players I ever saw. Well, Hairston's like that too. He's not a particularly tall man or a big man, but he's strong. Juan Perez in the bullpen for the Phillies.
And we've talked a lot about the Mets' resilience this year, and I think when you look at Scott Hairston individually, the first 2 months of this season were about as discouraging as they could be for Scott Hairston, who's a veteran player and, you know, came here to be a bench player, but there were opportunities to play more, and he just was not able to take advantage of them. And now, over the last month and a half, all of a sudden, he has really blossomed as the kind of player the Mets expected.
How many times have we seen someone have a great spring training, and he had a spring training off the charts, and then it's like you get all your hits in spring?
Well, I think that was doubly the problem, is that he had provided so much promise to everyone that was watching him in spring that you just expected it when the season started. And I think in his own right, he might have gone to that home run swing coming off of spring training that cost him.
And it was also compounded by the fact that early in the season, he struggled defensively. And that made Terry more reluctant to put him out there in, you know, in defensive situations where he might have otherwise used him.
I think sometimes when you watch players when they're struggling offensively, they don't want to make a mistake defensively. When you play like that, you're always going to make one. It's just how it works.
Kendrick had 1 and 2 on Hairston. And Scott able to lay off that sinker, and it's 2 and 2. Angel Pagan waiting on deck.
After seeing the other day, yesterday, what Hairston did, to me, Keith, he's a middle of the plate hitter, middle of the plate in. Very quick inside.
Just stays alive.
See how on balance he is. Remember in April, Gary and Keith, he would fall over and he'd lose his balance.
He's swinging out of his shoe.
When you think about yesterday, I know he had a great day offensively, but maybe just being on point and running from second base and scoring on that pop-up might have been my favorite part of his day.
Take nothing for granted. That's how to play the game.
Hit hard. A base hit for Hairston. Molina will go to third. He's being waved around by Chip Hale. And he'll come in to score the first Met run of the day. So Scott Hairston comes through as a pinch hitter, drives in Polino, and cuts the Phillies lead to 5-1.
Hairston right now just on a roll offensively.
High fastball, a little cutter, maybe slightly. And you belt high enough, he's deadly. Nice swing. Chip Hale alertly sent Paulino home, who doesn't run all that well. But
Bonnie was having no intention of scoring, by the way. He's not expecting to be waved in.
And, you know, the Phillies are going to concede that run and keep the runner at first, keep the double play open.
Hendrick now up to 100 pitches as Pagan takes a strike. Angels 0 for 2 and a walk today. And so the Phillies start to get that bullpen cranked up. Juan Perez and his hard and sometimes erratic fastball getting ready in the Phillies bullpen. Ball and a strike to Pagan. That's now with 6 hits in the game. Hairston, the first hit the Mets have had with a runner in scoring position today. Now 1 for 8.
And Pagan hooks one down the right field line. Foul.
We've had a few balls off Kendrick pulled foul.
And a couple of them pulled fair by Willie Harris. That would be home runs at Citizens Bank Park. Two and 2 now to Angel with Justin Turner to follow. Let's try to rally late against the Phillies after falling behind 5-0. Again, the 2-2. And Pagan lines it, but right at the center fielder Mayberry for the second out. So Pagan had a couple of good swings in that at bat. But now there are 2 out in the inning. And it's left to Justin Turner.
Let me ask you guys a question. With some guys struggling in the lineup, we've talked about many times how these games are of so much importance. Has Hairston hit enough for you to have more playing time?
Where? You'd have to sit big.
Yep.
Or Pagan.
Who's going to play center?
Play center.
Well, Hairston has played center. Certainly is not a center fielder.
It's too bad that Hairston can't play first base, because there have been a number of games where you said, well, it'd be great to get his bat in there, or where Terry's had to make 2 moves because he can't leave Hairston into play first. That's where, Willie Harris's versatility really helps him, that he can play so many different spots for you.
Yeah, that being able to play in the infield has opened up some more opportunities for Willie.
Now Kendrick ahead on Turner, 0-2. And it's bounced for Rollins. And that'll get Kendrick through the inning with only 1 run scoring. RBI hit for Hairston, but it's 5-1 Phillies after 7. HP, everybody on. Pedro Beato will be the 4th Met pitcher of the afternoon.
It's interesting with all the talk before Friday night's game on post the Frankie Rodriguez trade, who is going to close. There are many names brought up. Of course, Isringhausen, who has 293 career saves. Bobby Parnell, who pitched in last night's game, and Pedro Beato. Well, no save opportunities yet.
Not yet. Ryan Howard will lead off in the 8th inning. Beato hasn't pitched in 9 days. His last outing was that Friday game in San Francisco where he threw one pitch, got a double play, and wound up the winning pitcher when Hairston hit the home run off Brian Wilson in the ninth. So he is a well-rested reliever. We'll see how that treats him as Howard steps in. And he pours a fastball over for a strike. Howard 1 for 3, drove in the first Phillies run today with an RBI single. That was in the first inning against Mike Pelfrey, who lasted just 5 innings today and allowed 4 runs and 6 hits. Super pretzel, is that like a superhero?
It can't be that heavy that he's going to carry it on his head, right? It's a pretzel.
Maybe that's comfortable.
Oh, okay.
I've seen a picture of women carrying jugs of
I
water on
have.
their head. You have to have good posture to do that. Raul Ibanez on deck, then Dominic Brown, 3 left-hand hitters for Beato to contend with here in the 8th.
You know, I was mentioning the 3 guys that were mentioned as possible closers. They all present their own different challenges, right? Jason Isringhausen, because of his age, you don't know if he can go back to back to back. Bobby Parnell, inexperienced, so you don't know where he's at. And Pedro Beato, who saved games in Double-A, he hasn't always been able to keep his A game from appearance to appearance.
Hit the other way, on comes Bay, and he gets there and drops the ball. And Howard is safe at first. Well, Jason Bay came in nicely on the ball, got there, and then just didn't catch it.
Let's just see if he takes his eye off the ball here. No, he did not. And that got him in the shoulder on the ricochet. His head had to be bouncing, Ronnie. On his
head was bouncing a little bit, Keith. You know how sometimes the glove goes in front of your face and you lose the ball just for a second?
The sun's certainly not a factor, not in left field in this ballpark. So on the error by Bay, Howard is aboard, and now here's Ibanez, who's 1 for 3. There has to be a certain time that for Jason Bay where he throws up his hands and says, what else can go wrong? I mean, you're talking about a quality all-star caliber player who all of a sudden has seen his game disappear.
For over a year, well over a year.
Now Beato behind 2-0 to Ibanez. Dominic Brown on deck. Braves trying to come back against the Nats. Beat them yesterday. Now the 2-2, and Ibanez takes up and away, full count. Popped up due to into foul ground calling, and Ibanez retired, one away. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Dominic Brown is 0 for 3, grounded out, took a call, third strike, and popped up. Brown looking for his first hit in the series. He's gone 0 for 6.
it's interesting watching Pedro throw in this game. You can see that he hasn't thrown in 9 days. Kind of overthrowing, balls up in the strike zone. This is a guy, when he's at top of his game, he's around the knees and lower.
And again behind 2-0. John Mayberry Jr. on deck. So Beato again has to find himself out of a hole. And now he's behind 3-0. So it's not coming easily for Pedro. Right, Phillies bullpen. Beato, Rule 5 pick out of the Orioles organization. I think the Orioles might be able to use an arm like Pedro Beato.
They must be shaking their head.
That's ball 4. And so the Phillies have 2 men on. Remember when the Orioles got off to a good start this year?
Yeah,
remember that?
A long time ago.
That's gone away.
Dan Wortham visits them out. They're now 17 games under 500. They snapped a 9-game losing streak last night, but only after almost letting a 4-run lead get away in the 9th inning.
And I've watched a few of their games this year, Gary. It has been in the middle and late games of their bullpen that they have struggled mightily.
News doesn't stop on the weekend. Stay on top of what's going on in the world. Watch Jim Watkins and the Pix 11 News tonight at 6 and 10. I'm sure the next piece of information will not shock you, but Brian McCann just did a 3-run homer to tie the game for the Braves.
Oh.
6-6 in the 5th.
Include him in MVP talk.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you look at what the guys around him have done this year. Jason Hayward's hitting 220. Dan Uggla's hitting 180. Chipper Jones is on the DL. And McCann just keeps on rolling. He's had a phenomenal year. Mayberry's 0 for 3. Howard at second. Brown at first with 1 out. Ball and a strike to Mayberry. John Mayberry Jr., son of the fine left-handed slugger.
Oh boy, a little quick. That was a hanger.
Scared Juan Samuel, his third base coach. He was going into full crouch and protect mode.
Sammy, who is way down the line.
Oh boy, fastball right there.
I think Sammy ducked a little late.
That's it.
A lot of time taken in between pitches here with Paulino and Beato.
Now the 1-2 to Mayberry. And that's in tight. 2-2. And he is just all over the place.
He sure is. It doesn't look right.
Well, this is the way he looked when he first came back from the disabled list.
Out of sorts, out of rhythm.
His arm's lagging behind, right?
Yeah,
Ronnie?
lagging behind, and he's not getting on top of the ball. He's kind of underneath the baseball. That's why it's running in on the right-hander. This is where you know, when you had more time, you don't try to throw so hard. Concentrate and get it on top and getting the ball down.
Well,
but this is where the inexperience comes in.
Now he's gone to a 3-ball count on 3 of his 4 batters in this inning.
I don't think the Phillies will move the runners here, 3-2.
Now with Howard on second.
Nope.
And the 3-2. And Mayberry gets breaking ball, pops it up. Paulino and Duda with the slide, able to make the grab. Nicely done by Lucas, who had to come a long way for that. 2 down.
Well,
Nicely done by Lucas. Piece of cake. Isn't it, Ron?
Made it look that way, yeah.
So 2 out and 2 on. Here's Brian Schneider, who's 2 for 3. Ryota Igarashi up in the Mets bullpen. Just starting to get loose. Schneider bats with 2 out and 2 on.
Now, it's the third time that Brian Schneider's been started with a changeup. First pitch. 2 from Pelfrey, 1 here from Beato, to a hitter coming into the game batting 161.
Would have come out better than that.
And he's countered with 2 hits on his own, Schneider.
Already 23 pitches in the inning for Beato.
That was the good breaking ball. Down.
Howard and Brown, the base runners, on an error and a walk here in the 8th. Here's the 1-2. Got it on his fists and he fouls it back. Brian Schneider has spent 2 years as Met.
Injured a lot of the time. Met.
And struggled with some of the defensive skills that so attracted the Mets to him when he was in Montreal and Washington. Now Beato with the 1-2, and the breaking ball misses. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Load has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter if Schneider can keep the inning going. And with Schneider's backup, Ramon Castro just broke his hand for the White Sox. Went on the disabled list. 3-2 now to Schneider. It's too bad for Ramon, who was doing nicely for Chicago before getting hurt.
Oh, Atlanta took the lead.
5 runs in that 5th inning to go in front. Now the 3-2 runners go, and Schneider draws a walk, and the bases are loaded. Second walk of the inning issued by Beato. So an error and 2 walks, and they're loaded up. And Ross Glode will come up as the pinch hitter.
And here's a case where the Mets only have 1 left-hander in the pen, and it's kind of a tough spot for the manager, for Terry Collins, when to use the left-hander, and it makes a decision-making process over there for Charlie, the opposing manager, Charlie Mangover, pretty academic.
Glode has appeared as a pinch hitter in each game in this series. Struck out on Friday night, made the last out on a weak pop-up in the 9th inning yesterday. Now bats here with the bases loaded and 2 out. Trying to lend some more space for the Phillies, who work with a 4-run lead.
You show me a good pinch hitter, and which Glode is, I'll show you guys ready to swing first pitch.
But he takes that first pitch high, and Beato threw a first pitch strike to Howard, and he hasn't thrown a first pitch strike since.
Don't want to do that with the bases loaded.
And now he's behind 2-0.
That's 2 changeups there from Beato to Ross Glode. In my opinion, as Daniel Murphy comes in to give a little time here to Pedro Beato, that's a classic case of a young pitcher giving too much credit to the hitter. Ross Glode is a fine pinch hitter, one of the best in baseball. But you got to feel at some point when you throw 94 miles an hour that my stuff is better than yours. 2 changeups, tough choices, I believe.
Now Beato has expended 30 pitches in this inning. 2-0 to Glode, and that's way upstairs, and now he's in danger of forcing a run.
Wow.
Well, the Mets bullpen has been awfully good lately. In fact, the pen as a group had the best ERA in the National League in July coming into the day. But Beato really struggling. There's a strike, 3-1. Any run in this inning will be unearned, but nonetheless, this is very difficult for Beato.
Get your two-seamer, concentrate on the ball down, get yourself a ground ball.
And he walked him to force in a run. So 3 walks in the inning. Howard comes home with an unearned run, and it's 6-1 Philadelphia. So 9 days after his last appearance, things do not go right for Pedro Beato, and he will leave after 2/3 of an inning and give way to Ryota Igarashi. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Metro PCS. Metro PCS is taking $50 off their hottest phones just in time for back to school. On this Phillies threat.
Well, he had that great ERA in Buffalo, 0.87. He came in the other night and gave up that 3-run double to Mayberry Jr.
And he comes in again with the bases loaded. This time to face Jimmy Rollins, who's 2 for 4 on the day. And he misses high with the first pitch curveball. 1-0.
That is the pitch that Ricky Bones, the AAA pitching coach, has worked with Igarashi, but we have not seen it successful here in his first 2 appearances.
Ripped into right, and Rollins has his 3rd hit of the day. That'll chase home Brown. Schneider heading home as well. Harris's throw is cut off. A 2-run single for Jimmy Rollins, and the Phillies, with 3 runs in the 8th, have broken it open. It's 8-1. Igarashi, who was so successful down in Buffalo, and has just gotten mauled his first 2 appearances here.
Well, right down Broadway, the fastball. The key there, Gary, is bases loaded. You got pitchers. The pressure's on the pitcher with the bases loaded, and particularly a reliever coming in cold, even though they're conditioned for it. If you get 1-0 or first pitch fastball, I mean, you just jump on it, and Rollins did 1-0.
Here's Michael Martinez, who's driven in 4 runs today with a sacrifice fly and his first career homer, a 3-run bomb in the 5th. That really set the tone for this game.
Keith, you're talking about the predictability. If you miss badly with a breaking ball, what else is going to be the next pitch?
Well, yeah, that's a pitcher is struggling with his secondary pitches. You know, shoot, the base is loaded.
That being said, that was a good curveball there.
Igarashi came to this country with a fastball and a splitter, and the curveball was his third pitch. Now they've taken the splitter away from him basically and said the curveball is your secondary pitch, but it has not yet arrived in New York.
This is almost a mirror image inning here of the first game, where the Mets made an error and gave up 3 runs that broke the game open for the Phillies in game 1, and the same thing happened here with Bay making the error to lead the inning off.
And then Beato compounding things by walking 3 batters in the inning, one of which forced in a run, and Igarashi unable to clean it up. So now it's 3-2 on Martinez, and Rollins will be on his way. And he struck him out with a fastball. So the inning comes to an end, but the Phillies tack on 3. And we go to the bottom of the 8th at Citi Field. The Mets down 8-1.
Face. Phillies 8, Mets 1. New catcher Carlos Ruiz in for the Philadelphia Phillies, and Juan Perez. We saw the other night pitching a little wild, but when he's in the strike zone, very difficult, and a great slider.
Well, interesting that Charlie Manuel put Ruiz in the game 8-1. You think you want to give him a complete off day?
I can only think that Schneider must have hurt himself running the bases, because it makes no sense otherwise. Yeah. Willie Harris is a nice day at the plate. 2 for 3, a single and a double. And the one time he was retired, he hit one to the warning track in right field that was caught. Daniel Murphy on deck, and then Jason Bay here in the bottom of the 8th. Al Kendrick had himself a fine day for the Phillies. A season high 109 pitches in 7 innings. He allowed a run on 6 hits. Walked 3. Struck out none. Kind of a classic Kyle Kendrick game.
Yeah, he doesn't strike out anybody.
In fact, Kendrick, among all active pitchers, has the 2nd lowest strikeout ratio, strikeouts per 9 innings. The only pitcher with a lower one is Aaron Cook of the Rockies.
Like I said, a rocking chair 0 for 4.
And Harris is aboard for the 3rd time as Perez walks him. And one thing the Mets learned about Perez, if they didn't already know it from watching him the other night, is you really don't have to swing against him. He is all over the place. And if you let him, he'll walk the ballpark. Mets had Perez in spring training a few years ago, back in '06. And might have made the ball club that year if if not for that problem with his control.
He's got his jersey button wrong there, Keith. Not left-hander.
I missed that. Show me again, Mr. Webb. Oh, there's Jace.
Jason Isringhausen, the designated closer of the moment, getting himself ready. And Murphy takes a strike, 1-1.
Boy, he's got a good arm. 95 miles an hour. Razor blade slider, but he can't always find the strike zone. What are you saying, Gary? He was in the Mets camp, right?
06. Competed for a job as a left-handed specialist. Remember, that was the year that was a huge battle for jobs in that bullpen. And remember, Darren Oliver initially didn't make the team, and he was going home to California to retire. And then at the last moment, somebody got hurt. Was it Feliciano got hurt?
I know. Well, no, I don't think he got hurt. I think they decided to send Feliciano down.
And so Oliver got a reprieve, and 5 years still pitching after almost retiring.
What a career.
That was the year that the Mets let Chad Bradford go to Baltimore, and Oliver, and they lost 2 big guys out of that bullpen. And it never was the same.
Bradford, you kind of had to. He got fortunate enough to get, what, a 2 or a 3 year?
3 years.
3 years. Well, you can't match
Huge
that.
money, yeah. They thought they could replace him with Joe Smith, and Joe was great for a while. And Joe this year is pitching wonderfully for the Indians. So Perez issues back-to-back walks to Harrison Murphy to start the inning.
This is the kind of guy that the Mets can look to come back in this game, although you think Charlie Manuel would have a short leash with a 7-run lead.
Can't let this game slip away. But 7-run lead right now. You got anybody up in that bullpen?
Not yet.
There's some
change.
Yeah, there's some activity now. It's going to be Madsen getting loose.
So there is Madsen heading down to the bullpen mound. So here's Bay, who's 0 for 3, and also made an error that opened the door on a 3-run 8th inning for the Phillies. So it's been a very rough day for Bay. For the 3rd time in the game, he comes up with 2 men on. And Perez just does not throw strikes. And after the Mets went up there hacking against him Friday night, they have taken a very different approach.
I don't think you can swing against this left-hander until he throws you a strike.
And he's not going to get any close calls either.
Well, I thought that was a strike, wasn't it?
Jeez. The old days, this put you on the first plane back to wherever your AAA team is.
And Bay walks on 4 pitches, and now the bases are loaded. And so Madsen will start throwing a little harder. 3 straight walks by Juan Perez to start the bottom of the 8th. Coming in with a 7-run lead, and Rich Doobie looks furious.
Man, here comes Charlie. He's not happy.
Well, furious squared.
Adios, amigo.
I think that Doobie was about to go to the mound and said, Charlie said, don't bother. I'll take care of it.
I got this one.
Jeez.
So Ryan Madsen will come on with the bases loaded and nobody out with a 7-run lead. So Perez takes his exit. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Metro PCS. Metro PCS is taking $50 off their hottest phones just in time for back to school. exploded and nobody out.
Well, thrown into the fire. He was outstanding in his comeback from the DL on Friday night. A couple strikeouts in his inning of work.
Madsen today making his 58th career relief appearance against the Mets. That's more than any active pitcher.
Harris at third, Murphy at second, Bay at first. They all walked against Juan Perez, who threw 15 pitches, only 3 strikes. And Lucas Duda bats with the bases full. And Duda takes a fastball from Madsen for a strike. Duda had an opposite field double back in the second. He's 1 for 3. Juan Perez, a hard thrower who just has trouble finding the strike zone.
He might find it in AAA.
That was a borderline strike to Duda, and it's 0-2. He comments to Dan Bellino, the rookie home plate umpire. Rookie. Ronnie Polino on deck. Little dribbler foul.
Well, as good a changeup as you'll see coming out of the bullpen with Ryan Madsen. Straight over the top, and the ball seemingly never gets there.
One and 2 to Duda. To second base. Utley plays the short hop, gets the out at second and at first. A run comes in. It's now 8-2.
Nope, exactly what Charlie Emanuel was looking for out of his relief ace. Madsen here. Tailor-made double play.
And the way the runner at second, Murphy, had to freeze on that ball. Thought in their minds maybe they could get 3 outs.
Well, so Willie Harris also had the freeze.
Murphy now at third with 2 down. No RBI for Duda. Here's Polino, first pitch swinging again. He's been doing that all day. In fact, the first 3 at bats he put the first pitch in play all 3. He doubled off the wall and left and scored the first Met run in the 7th. It's Madsen's 58th career relief appearance against the Mets. He's just over halfway to the all-time record, which is held by Kent Tekulve, who faced the Mets 114 times out of the bullpen.
Teak from down under.
And Tekulve's number 1 on the list with 114. The next guy on the list has only 85. That's Lee Smith. So Tekulve was out there all the time back when the Mets and Pirates were in the same division. Of course, he was in 90 games a season back in those days.
Yes. He was a workhorse. Reminded me of Ray Bolger, the Scarecrow.
Polino pokes one toward the middle, and that's a base hit to bring home Murphy with the second run of the inning. And now it's 8-3. So Polino has 2 hits on the day, just his 11th run batted into the year. Both the runs in this inning charged to Juan Perez, who didn't retire a batter and is charged with 2 runs. Now Ruben Tejada bats with 2 out and Polino at first. Isringhausen getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Nick Evans has come out on deck to pinch hit if Tejada can keep the inning going. Here's Evans. Mets have a makeup game with the Marlins tomorrow night, and then the Cardinals come to town. The Cardinals began today in first place in the Central, but they lost in Cincinnati, beaten by the Reds 3-1. Homer Bailey pitched a terrific game for Cincinnati. So at the end of today, either Milwaukee or Pittsburgh could be in first place in that Central Division. Ball and 2 strikes to Tejada. 4 teams within 4 games in that NL Central.
Both Pittsburgh and Milwaukee
Look at that.
So far.
Washington coming back, taking the lead.
Danny Espinosa with a home run is 17th for the Nats. Madsen ahead 1-2 on Tejada with 2 down. And he bounces one. 2-2. You hit 474 against Tekulve? Is that right?
I clobbered him.
And Tejada's hit by the pitch. And so the Mets have a couple of men on. And a chance with one big swing to get right back in this game. And Nick Evans, who had a triple in yesterday's game, will come up to hit. Rich Doobie will go to the mound to talk to Madsen.
Well, if you want to see disgusted, that's the face right there of Charlie Manuel.
One swing, and it's a brand new ball game.
Going over the scouting report on Evans. Probably talking about the pitch selection there to Tejada. All changeups. Looking for that punch out across from the hit by pitch.
So Evans, who struggled in his first couple of cups of coffee with the Mets this year, hit the home run in San Francisco on Sunday night, then had the triple yesterday, just his second career triple. And now bats here with 2 out and 2 on, with 2 runs home in the bottom of the 8th, and the Mets try to continue a steep uphill climb. And Nick takes up and in with the fastball for ball 1. Paulino now at second, Tejada at first with 2 out. And Evans takes a fastball for a strike, 1-1.
This is a time when the infielders behind relief pitchers not feeling too great, right?
Getaway day, it's hot, your puppies are barking.
Oh, we saw Beato in the top of the inning throw over 30 pitches. And now in the bottom of the 7th, Perez and Madsen have combined to throw over 30 pitches.
All you want to do here, 8-1 going into this inning, and you're out there, is just go get in the clubhouse, let's get showered up, have a nice meal, maybe have a little Budweiser, and get on an airplane on to Chicago, the next city.
Two out, 2 on, 2-2 to Nick Evans. And he strokes one foul. If Evans can keep the inning going, Angel Pagan would be next. Madsen came in, got the double play grinder from Duda, but Paulino behind in the count poked a base hit, and then Tejada behind in the count was hit by a pitch. Now the 2-2, and Evans lays off, and it's a full count.
Nope. I see where our young ladies in the USA in the World Cup took the lead 1-0.
Alex Morgan scored the goal. How much time left in that game?
69:06. That makes sense.
No. That would be the time gone. There's ball 4 to Evans, and the bases are loaded again. The 4th walk of the inning by Philadelphia pitching. The Mets have 2 runs home. They've had only 1 hit, 4 walks and a hit by pitch.
Gosh.
And now a chance to really jump right back in it with Pagan coming up.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's hard for him to believe. He can barely see.
Last Grand Slam home run hit by a Mets here at Citi Field is that man Pagan.
Antonio Bastardo, the nearly unhittable Philly closer of the moment, is up in the bullpen. But Madsen will stay in to face Pagan, who's gone 0 for 3 in a walk today. Last time up, he hit a bullet to center field that was caught. It's been a rough stretch lately for Angel, a chance to make amends quickly.
And he hits it hard, base hit. Polino is in. Tejada will stop at third as Brown comes up with it quickly. So it's an RBI single for Pagan, and the Mets, who were down 8-1 when this inning began, will now bring the tying run to the plate with Justin Turner. So Pagan drives in his 29th run of the year.
Well, after a walk, what are you going to get from Ryan Madsen? A fastball down the middle. RBI single for Pagan.
And that's going to be it for Madsen. His second appearance off the disabled list, not going nearly as well as the first. 4 straight Mets have reached base after 2 out. Turner will be coming to bat. Tying run at the plate in an 8-4 game. Antonio Bastardo on to try and bail the Phillies out. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Metro PCS. Metro PCS is taking $50 off their hottest phones just in time for back to school. Bases loaded when we come back. Ridiculous numbers comes on to pitch.
Well, you see his saves and saves opportunities, but he has been unbelievable. He's only given up 1 hit in the last 48 hitters he's faced, and right-handers are 0 for the last 32.
The Mets have scored 3 times in the 8th inning. They've got the bases loaded and 2 out. Justin Turner, the 9th man up in the inning. He's the tying run at the plate in an 8-4 game. Turner, after a 4-game stretch in which he went 8 for 17, has gone 0 for 4 today. But he has been the Mets' best hitter this season with runners in scoring position. Came into the day at .387. And Bastardo ready to go. Upstairs to Turner, 1-0. The Mets have already drawn 4 walks in this inning and 7 in the game. Against the pitching staff that's allowed the fewest walks in the National League this season.
A little different, though, when you come in with the bases loaded.
Good pitch to hit.
And Turner takes a rip. 1-1.
Boy, Bastardo just has that late life Keith. Watch this run away from Turner at the very end.
Yeah, got some gas. He beat him too.
Opposing hitters are 0 for their last 37 against Antonio Bastardo.
No, it's time to break that spell.
There you go.
The only pitcher in the majors with a longer streak this year was Justin Verlander, who, with his no-hitter, had hitters go 0 for 46 against him in one stretch, and that was a rather high strike to Turner. So now he's in a 1-2 hole. Trying to put that RBI bat to use here. One-two from Bastardo, and Turner lays off the slider.
Good eye right
2-2.
there. Tough pitch to lay off. Nicely done by Turner. Tough one to lay off. Did not swing.
Willie Harris on deck, hoping Turner can keep the inning alive. And Justin swings and misses at the fastball. Bastardo comes in to put the inning to bed. After the Mets put up a 3 spot to get closer, it's 8-4 Philadelphia. City, what's your story? Citibank can help you write it. Citi Field on a hot July afternoon. Mets and Phillies wrapping up a 3-game series. Nice look up at the promenade level. Changes for the Mets as we go to the ninth. Daniel Murphy moves from third base to second base. Nick Evans stays in the game at third. And the pitcher, Jason Isringhausen, will hit in the number 2 hole as Turner comes out on the double switch.
We talked about Pedro Beato before, Gary. Hadn't pitched in 9 days, 10 days now for Jason Isringhausen.
And he faces the heart of the Phillies order. Chase Utley leads off and takes a strike. Utley's 0 for 3 and a walk today. Utley and Howard together in this series have gone 2 for 21. And yet the Phillies are 3 outs away from taking 2 out of 3 in the series. And Utley grounds one to the right side. Murphy, who hasn't played second base in a while, handles it cleanly. 1 out. Dude almost flinched on that throw for Murphy at first base. So 1 out and nobody on now. Ryan Howard. Howard had a run scoring single in the first, and then in the 8th with the Phillies already ahead 5-1. He had a routine fly ball to left field that Jason Bay somehow didn't catch. He just missed it, and it hit him in the shoulder, and that opened the door for 3 unearned runs for the Phillies in the 8th that now look a lot larger, with the Mets having put up 3 in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, that's probably been the most alarming thing of this series, Gary, is if you look at kind of the sloppiness on defense for the Mets. It hasn't only been this series, right before the break also.
Well, the errors that they've made have cost them.
Yeah.
I mean, the opposing clubs have capitalized on them.
Well, the Mets have now made 25 errors in their last 26 games. And this was a team that was playing much better defense early in the season.
On Friday night, you had a game within shouting distance. Those late runs put it away. Boy, those 3 runs in the last inning really changed the game for the Phillies.
Although, in fairness, when you look at a situation like that, if it had been a closer game going to the 8th inning, Juan Perez probably isn't pitching.
Yeah.
And maybe the Mets don't get those 3 runs.
They were trying to sneak him through.
Oh, Japan came back, huh?
So 1-1. It's got to be getting late in that second half, right, Keith?
Don't ask me.
What does it say on the clock?
It says 81:01 and counting.
Okay, so they've got about 10 minutes to go with
Oh,
stoppage
they play
time.
90 now?
90.
Well, you never know. It depends on the entry time and stop time, Keith.
They're going to run around for an hour and a half out there? What are they, crazy?
Well, they have a halftime in between. There's ball 4, and Howard's on with a 1-out walk. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by TGI Fridays. Here's Raul Ibanez with 1 out and 1 on. Met pitchers have now walked 5 in this game. Philly pitchers have walked 7. Ibanez 1 for 4. He singled back in the 6th inning. And Isringhausen pours over a fastball. Isringhausen, the 6th Met pitcher of the afternoon. Mike Pelfrey went the first 5, and he's on the hook in this game. Gave up 4 runs and 6 hits. Carrasco got charged with a run. Beato gave up the 3 unearned runs. And the curveball bounced foul. 0-2 to Ibanez. Meanwhile, the Nats still lead the Braves 8-7 going to the bottom of the 8th in Atlanta. And Izzy just missed the inside corner. Ooh. We got Dan Bellino, a rookie umpire, behind the plate, and been a lot of really close pitches in this game that could have gone either way. To right center, and Harris will have to play that on the hop. Howard pulls in at second base, and Ibanez has his 2nd hit of the day. He's had 2 hits in each of the 3 games in this series. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets game live or on demand on your computer and your favorite devices. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. 11 hits in the game now for the Phillies, and Dominic Brown, the batter. 0 for 3, walked and scored in the 8th inning. So Isringhausen pitching for the first time in a week and a half. Trying to right himself here in the 9th. Ball 1 to Brown. And that one caught the inside edge, 1-1. Howard is at second. He walked. Ibanez at first. He singled, 1 out. time asked for by Polino. Swing and a miss. He got him with the fastball away. So Isringhausen has his first strikeout, 2 out of the inning.
Well, trying to come inside with the cutter. This ball almost backs up as it runs away from Dominic Brown.
So 2 out and 2 on, and now John Mayberry comes up. By the way, I mentioned that it had been a while since Daniel Murphy played second base. I didn't realize it had been this long. May the 10th in Colorado.
Wow.
Of course, it was in Colorado that first Ike Davis and then David Wright came out of the lineup, and that necessitated the Mets shuffling around their infield. And Murphy's been playing the corners ever since. Mayberry's 0 for 4. Bats here with 2 out and 2 on. And takes a strike. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have 3, 4, and 5 in the order coming up. Harris, Murphy, and Bay to try and do something against the nearly unhittable Antonio Bastardo. And a fastball striking as he gets ahead 0-2. By the way, did you see K-Rod had a successful debut for the Brewers last night? Pitched a scoreless 8th inning. Game that Milwaukee rallied to win in the 9th. So in just 3 days in Milwaukee, he's reworked his contract and contributed to a win.
Busy man.
As long as his goggles arrived with him, he'll be okay. Here's the 0-2 and the curveball in there for a call, strike 3. So back-to-back strikeouts for Isringhausen to get himself through the top of the 9th. Now the Mets will come up at the bottom with 3, 4, and 5 in the order coming up, down by 4. Costs more without free score. That's looking for more than a free score. They're looking for a 4 score in the bottom of the 9th against Antonio Bastardo, who came in to strike out Turner with the bases loaded in the 8th. Leaving opposing hitters now 0 for their last 38 against him.
Well, we always talk about it all the time, don't we? Gary, the closer, he gets that big out, has to sit down. Maybe we'll see a little crack in the armor of Mr. Bastardo.
Willie Harris, Daniel Murphy, and Jason Bay trying to do just that in the last of the 9th. Mets got 3 in the bottom of the 8th to make it closer. Harris has had a nice day. He started the 8th inning with a leadoff walk. against Juan Perez. He also has a single, a double, and a long fly ball. He's 2 for 3 on the day. Making his first start since the 28th of June. Filling in for the flu-ridden Carlos Beltran after Scott Hairston had a terrific day in the same role yesterday. Now Harris facing the left-hander Bastardo. And Willie bluffs the bunt and takes a strike. 0-1. Bastardo trying to finish it off for Kyle Kendrick, who went 7 strong innings today. Coming up next on Pix 11, it's Smash Cuts. And on SNY, Lincoln postgame live. Ball to strike to Harris. The Mets have 8 hits today. The Phillies have 11. But the Mets have left 10 runners on base today. Murphy to follow, Bay behind him. Mets got the tying run to the plate in the 8th before Bastardo got the big out. Now trying to reset it here in the 9th. And Harris being patient gets a 3-1 advantage.
It's one of those here, hit it, Ronnie. Huh?
Yeah, have to.
4-run lead. Cardinals send to walk a batter.
There's a strike, 3-2. The Mets have drawn 7 walks today. They've drawn 340 for the year, the most in the National League. But now it's 3-2. And Harris fouls off the good fastball.
Well, you know you've got a good fastball, or it's got to be sneaky also. But it's 3-2. You know it's coming, and it still beats you. And that's what happened to Harris right there. Well placed, though, by Bastardo.
Again, the 3-2. Hit sharply, but right at Utley. 1 out in the last of the 9th. So Harris put together a good at bat, but it comes up empty. 1 out and nobody on now for Daniel Murphy. Murph's been aboard 3 times today with a single and 2 walks. He scored a run, officially 1 for 2. Started the day 7th in the National League in batting. Now has a 7-game hitting streak going, and he just continues to get aboard 2 and 3 times every day. Braves have tied up the Nationals on a Nate McLouth home run, 8-8 in the 8th. Yeah, Murphy, wow, taking a rip at the fastball, 1-1.
That was a little tardy on that swing. This kid throws hard.
Well, you know, we never talk about it because, you know, there's 93 and 94, and then there's an extra gear, and Bastardo seems to have that.
And how do you explain that to somebody who just looks at the radar gun and says, well, you know, if it's 94, it's 94?
When you watch certain guys throw 94, Gary, it's max effort. They get everything behind it. They really reveal to the hitter what they're going to see, and Bastardo is as free and easy or right-hander. Just has that little lift of the leg and kind of just follows through, and the ball just jumps on the hitter.
And now he's behind in the count again. He was 3-1 on Harris before he came back to get him to ground out. Now he's 3-1 on Murphy. And as Harris did before him, Murphy takes the 3-1 fastball for a strike. So the Mets doing their best to try and work Bastardo, get some base runners. But he's a tough cookie right now. 3-2. And Murphy wastes one.
That's a look of a very confident young man, isn't it, Ronnie?
Well, you'd be confident too when you give up nothing every day.
Again, the 3-2. And another foul ball. Well, Bastardo got a couple of chances with the Phillies. As a starter in 09, he made 5 starts for them. And then last year, some off and on work. But he has been a completely different pitcher this year. Opportunity presented itself, and he has stormed through the door. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming to Murphy. And he fouls off the 3rd straight. All fastballs here for Bastardo. And the Mets are not going quietly. Another 3-2 to Murphy. And he hits one in the air to deep right. Back goes Brown, looking up near the wall, and it's off the fence. Murphy to second base, and he'll pull in there with a long double. Second ball the Mets have hit off the Mo zone today. Harris had one earlier. Brown gave up on that ball, thought it was gone, but it didn't quite have it.
Well, very impressive by Murph. All those pitches away, and then he tried to come up and in on him, and he turned on it.
So a 1-out double for Murphy, and the Mets keep fighting. So after Bastardo had opposing hitters go 0 for the last 39 against him, Murphy finally breaks that up with a 1-out double. Now Jason Bay will try and keep the line moving. Bay is 0 for 3 and a walk today. Boy, Murphy's been impressive. I mean, this has been going on for the better part of 2 months now.
That was a big piece of paper right in front of home plate. That you got to move that. It's called timeout. Step out and get that paper out of there.
That's not the wrapper from Keith's Grill, is it?
It might be. That's good. It's a sale.
It's got the Mets logo on it.
It's always a good sign.
Which burger was it?
Doesn't look like there's much business there right now. Are they
late.
closed down for the day?
I don't know. It's late.
Here's the 0-2, and Bay grounds one foul.
Everybody's sated by now.
Lucas Duda waiting to follow. Been a long ball game, and Bastardo having trouble putting the final nails in. Bay pops one up. Howard over, hoping for a play, and he's got one. 2 out. It's a very rough day at the office for Jason Bay. 0 for 4, an important error in left field. And now the Mets are down to their final out with Lucas Duda coming up. Duda's 1 for 4, had an opposite field double back in the second. Came up his last time up with the bases loaded and nobody out against Ryan Madsen and grounded into a double play. That brought home a run, but what a crimp in what was otherwise a very successful 8th inning for the Mets. Murphy at second with 2 down. And a check swing foul, 1-1. Ronnie Polino, who has a couple of hits today, waiting on deck. Bottom dropped out of that. And Duda down 1-2.
Changeup? Wow. Oh, he started from the bullpen. He had a fastball and slider. That's a change. Starting to get in the not fair range.
He's pretty not fair. Here's the 1-2. And Duda hooks one out to right center. Over goes Brown in the gap, and he's not going to get there. Neither does Mayberry. That falls for an extra base hit. Murphy in to score. Duda's going to continue on to third base. And he's in standing with a triple. Duda one-hands one about 390 feet in just the right spot in the gap. And now it's 8-5.
Well, once again here, look at the hitting here. Little cutter. Nicely. He's a very strong young man. Wow. You got to think that Victorino runs this one down, don't you?
Well, you have to remember also, most of his hits have been to the left field for Duda. Probably shifted Mayberry over a little, and that cost him.
Duda now has 5 hits in his last 9 at-bats. Rich Doobie out at the mound. The Mets need one more base runner now to get the tying run to the plate here in the 9th. Remember, they were down 8-1 going to the bottom of the 8th. Scored 3 in the 8th. They have a run home here in the 9th. And now Paulino, who is 2 for 4 today, a single and a double. And you start to wonder at this point, is Carlos Beltran available? We saw him in the ballpark. We know he's here. But if the Mets get another runner on, might have to take a chance.
Yes.
Paulino's 2 for 4 on the day. And he takes inside. First time he's taken a first pitch all day. There's Carlos on the bench, and he's showing no signs of grabbing a bat. You got Tejada on deck, and then Nick Evans is hitting in the 9-hole. Paulino pulls one to third. Great stop by Martinez, and he throws him out to end the game. Michael Martinez, who had the big blow in this game with a 3-run homer, makes the final play. And the Phillies take 2 out of 3 in the series. The Mets have now dropped 4 of 5, and they're back to the 500 mark for the season.
Well,
game summary brought to you by TGI Fridays. Kyle Kendricks going 7 strong innings for the win. Mike Pelfrey took the loss.
well, not too much of a story. Pelfrey, of course, one bad pitch to Martinez. Kendrick was outstanding over 7.
So the Phillies win it 8-5. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.